A single gunshot rings out, marking the beginning of a desperate mission. The man pulling the trigger is Nie Yan. His eyes, cold and unwavering, are fixed on his target. The bullet finds its mark. A portly man in a fine suit, Chairman Cao Su, stumbles back, a fatal wound blooming on his chest. Panic erupts. Bodyguards rush to their fallen boss, shouting his name in disbelief, while others immediately return fire on the assassin. Though his mission was a success, Nie Yan pays the ultimate price. A volley of bullets rips through him. As Nie Yan lies bleeding out, he looks at his enemy with satisfaction. He tells the dying chairman that in death, everyone is equal, and that he will die at the hands of a nobody. Cao Su is dead. All his nation-rivaling wealth couldn't save him from a single bullet. With his last breath, Nie Yan declares his revenge for his parents complete. But as life fades, he can't help but question why fate was so cruel to him, taking everything he held dear. He reaches for the light, his spirit screaming in defiance. He refuses to accept this end. He will not resign himself to this fate. As his body falls into an endless abyss, his consciousness clings desperately to life. Then a flicker, a sliver of light appears in the darkness as an eye begins to open. Nie Yan's eyes snap open, wide with shock and confusion. He finds himself lying in a bed, not in a pool of his own blood, but completely unharmed. He sits up abruptly, his mind racing. He clearly remembers being gunned down by Cao Su's bodyguards. How could he be alive? Looking around, an impossible realization dawns on him. This is his old, cramped apartment from his student days. Could he have been reborn into the past? A news report on the small TV catches his eye. It's about the explosive launch of the immersive VRMMO Conviction. He stares at the screen, his eyes widening. Conviction's servers had just opened. This confirms it. He really came back. He picks up a dusty picture frame, staring at his younger self as he reintroduces himself to the world. The photo is of his parents, a bittersweet memory of a happier time. He begins to reminisce. Back then, his parents traded strategic metals at the border, earning a massive fortune when the state bought them at a huge markup. With that capital, his father started a smelting company, and their family became wealthy almost overnight. They were swimming in money, living a life of luxury, but the good times weren't destined to last. When he was 25, Cao Su's Century Financial Group targeted his father's business. The friends his father had trusted were all bought off, turning on him in an instant. The company collapsed and went bankrupt. His father, unable to bear the failure, took his own life, and his mother died soon after of a broken heart. He was left all alone. Looking at his reflection, he admits that the inherited wealth had made him lazy, causing him to waste his life. It was only after losing everything that he chose a final suicide run to drag Cao Su down with him. But now the heavens have given him a second chance. His eyes burn with a new fire as he clenches his fist, vowing that this time he won't lose a single thing. He knows exactly where to start. The game Conviction was a cross-era phenomenon that would change the world, attracting countless financial groups. It was the very foundation upon which Cao Su's empire was built. The game quickly became humanity's second world. And in his past life, Nie Yan wasn't just a player, he was a legendary level 180 great thief. He grabs his phone to check the date. It's July 25th, 2025. Conviction has only been open for 7 days. A wave of relief washes over him. He can still make it. This is the perfect chance for a comeback. He calculates that at this early stage, the highest level player on the leaderboards would only be around level 5. With his memories of the future, catching up will be easy. He remembers that at this point in time, his younger self still had some savings. He checks his account and finds just enough money to buy an entry-level gaming helmet. His hand tightens on his shirt, his knuckles turning white. He thinks of Cao Su, the man who destroyed his family, and a cold fury settles in his heart. With newfound purpose, he gets dressed and heads out. This time, he is changing everything. Later that night, the light in his small apartment stays on, a beacon of his resolve under the full moon. Helmet in hand, he knows he's starting 7 days behind everyone else. But he's not worried. With his knowledge, he will crush every rival and stand at the very summit of conviction. Without a moment's hesitation, he puts on the helmet, ready to dive back into the world he knows so well. His consciousness fades from the real world, and a system window appears before him. He is entering conviction. The first step is character creation. He's presented with a map of the world and prompted to select his starting country. The world of conviction is split into 3 major factions: The first is the lawful good, righteous faction, which holds both the Viridian and Satrine empires. The Viridian Empire is a human nation, ruled by a council of elders, home to classes like clerics, mages, and assassins. The Satrine Empire is a tribal alliance of proud dwarves, fierce orcs, and elegant elves. Next is the lawful evil dark faction, consisting of demon and undead tribes ruled by powerful dictators. Finally, for players who prefer a more peaceful route, there's the neutral faction, which includes races like the giant tribes. Nie Yan doesn't need to think twice. In his last life, he chose the Viridian Empire's Gale Thief class. After pouring years of blood, sweat, and tears into it, he knows every single skill and quest by heart. Choosing it again is the only way to maximize the advantage his rebirth has given him. With absolute confidence, he makes his choice. The system confirms he has selected the Gale Thief class and will be born in the Viridian Empire. With his origin and class set, he is taken to the nomming screen, ready to forge a new legend. He types in his new identity, Nirvana Flame, a name signifying his rebirth from the ashes of his past life. The system confirms his choice. The character Nirvana Flame has been created. He enters the game, materializing in the bustling spawn point of Calor City, the main hub of the Viridian Empire. As soon as he arrives, a familiar status window appears before him, level 1 thief with 5 available points to distribute. A smile creeps onto his face. That feeling, it's back, and this time he knows exactly what to do. Wasting no time, he immediately allocates his starting points, 3 into strength and 2 into agility. He recalls messing up his build in his past life, wasting precious time. He won't make the same mistake twice. He takes a look around the bustling city square. The teleport point is swarming with new players, all starting their journeys in this new world. He watches other players hawking their wares. One is trying to sell a common dagger for 2 copper coins, claiming it's a huge upgrade over the starter gear. Nie Yan smirks. He knows that exact dagger sells for a single copper coin in a nearby town. He remembers foolishly falling for that scam in his last life, but not this time. He remembers everything. Just then, another merchant catches his eye. A level 3 paladin named Flying Stone is selling a stealth skill book, shouting for all the rookie thieves to take a look. Other new players grumble about the price. 6 coppers is a fortune for them, as they're all broke. But for Nie Yan, this is a golden opportunity. He walks up to Flying Stone's stall and asks for the price. The paladin grins, confirming the listed price of 6 copper. Nie Yan's mind races. Stealth is essential for the early game. With it, he can access a hidden chest in the Wild Cat Zone, a level 5 area near Track Town. Since most players are still low-level, the chest should be completely untouched. With a confident smile, Nie Yan makes an outrageous proposal. He tells Flying Stone to give him the book for free, and in return, he'll reveal a secret farming spot that yields over a dozen stealth books a day. Flying Stone is furious. Seeing Nie Yan is only level 0, he assumes he's just some nutjob trying to scam him out of a valuable skill book and tells him to get lost. Unfazed, Nie Yan calmly tells him to hold on. He then reveals that he knows exactly where Flying Stone got the books, by farming fallen shamans in Link Town. Flying Stone is stunned into silence. Nie Yan presses his advantage, rattling off the exact coordinates of the farming spot, asking, "Am I right?" The paladin breaks into a cold sweat. This stranger knows his secret coordinates. His mind reels at the possibility of farming a dozen books a day. Making a snap decision, he shoves the book into Nie Yan's hands. It's just 1 book, and if he can really farm 3 a day with the new information, it's a worthy trade. A system window pops up, showing he's trading with Nirvana Flame. With the deal struck, Nie Yan takes the book. He holds up his end of the bargain, telling Flying Stone the new coordinates near the fallen shaman camp. Flying Stone is overjoyed and gets ready to head out immediately. As he leaves, Nie Yan makes one last request. The fallen shamans also drop a skill called Owl's Insight, and asks him to mail one if he gets an extra. The paladin readily agrees, promising to send the skill the moment it drops if the new spot works. He then activates his Hearthstone to teleport away. In a flash of blue light, Flying Stone vanishes. Now holding the stealth skill, Nie Yan's first objective is complete. A faint glow envelops him as he prepares for his next move, cracking open that hidden chest. He makes his way through the city and arrives at Track Town, the closest settlement to his target. He doesn't waste a second. He uses the skill book, and a system window confirms that he has learned Stealth, a skill that allows him to enter a concealed state. With a single step, he activates the ability. Dark, shadowy energy swirls around him. He vanishes from plain sight, moving like a ghost through the crowded streets of Track Town. Using his agility, he easily leaps over the town walls, avoiding the guarded gates entirely. He lands silently in the forest outside, already sprinting towards the high-level hunting ground where his treasure awaits. Still under the cover of stealth, he arrives at his destination, the Wildcat Zone. The forest is teeming with danger. Vicious wild cats, ranging from level 2 to level 4, roam the area, ready to pounce on any unsuspecting player. From the safety of the trees, he spots his prize. A silver chest sits on a high branch, surrounded by a patrol of deadly level 5 wild cats. He knows that in Conviction, chests are ranked by rarity, with the loot getting better the higher the rank. The tiers range from common to silver, gold, dark gold, and finally the ultra-rare legendary chests. His eyes lock onto the target. That's it, the hidden silver chest. Its loot is fixed, and once opened, the chest vanishes forever. He breathes a sigh of relief, knowing he was the first to find it. He steels himself for the risk. For a level 0 player like him, entering a level 5 zone is normally a suicide mission. But there's a silver lining. At this level, there's no XP loss upon death. With nothing to lose and everything to gain, he reactivates his stealth skill and prepares to move in. He moves through the undergrowth like a phantom, carefully weaving his way past the prowling cats. He leaps into the branches of the ancient tree, his eyes fixed on the chest. He knows he has to be quick. Stealth only lasts for 2 minutes, and opening the chest takes time. Suddenly, one of the wild cats below stops, its glowing red eyes sensing that something is wrong. It lunges, swiping at the air where Nie Yan had just been. He knows he can't get too close to the monsters, or his stealth will be broken instantly. He gracefully leaps from branch to branch, using his agility to stay above the confused but agitated cats. He lands silently on the thick branch, right next to his target. Without a moment to lose, he reaches for the chest. The opening chest progress bar appears. His heart pounds in his chest. He forces himself to remain calm, knowing his invisibility could fail at any moment. Perched high in the tree, he works on the lock while the pack of wild cats circles below, growing more restless by the second. Success, with a satisfying click, the chest pops open. The system informs him it took a tense 27 seconds. His eyes gleam with triumph. He pulls out a skill book from the chest. "Got it," he whispers. His path to perfect leveling has just begun. The reward for his gamble is the skill book Vital Strike. It allows him to deal 150% bonus damage on weak point hits. For a thief, this skill is a game changer. The journey to the top starts right here. Everything was going according to plan. Nie Yan smirked, knowing he had just obtained Vital Strike, a top-tier skill for thieves, right at level 0. With this, he was confident his progress in the early game would be twice as fast. As the skill book vanished, a system notification confirmed he had successfully learned Vital Strike. His plan was now in motion. Just as his stealth effect wore off, 2 massive, red-eyed creatures spotted him from below. But this was exactly what he wanted. Without hesitation, Nie Yan leaped down into a swarm of giant rats, greeting them with a casual taunt. As he fell, he thanked the confused monsters for guarding the nearby chest, a clear provocation. He knew that dying in Conviction meant losing experience and gear. But as a level 0 player with nothing of value, death was a resource, not a punishment. The system windows appeared one after another. He had died, dropped his worthless starter gloves, and was now being teleported to the nearest town. His plan had worked perfectly. In a flash of light, Nie Yan respawned in the middle of a bustling town, pleased that he'd secured a free, instant teleport. With the first step complete, his eyes sharpened. It was time for Phase 2 of his master leveling plan. He found himself in the main square, surrounded by countless other players starting their own adventures, completely unaware of the advantage he already possessed. Nie Yan gazed over the starting village. He knew he needed to make some quick cash. Luckily, his memories from his past life told him exactly where to find a secret quest. He first approached Hunter Klaus, accepting a simple quest to collect 20 giant rat skulls. Next, he visited Farmer End, picking up another mission to kill 50 of the same silver-gray rats. Just as he planned, after accepting the first 2 quests, Apothecary approached him. Because Nie Yan had fulfilled the hidden prerequisites, a secret third quest was triggered. This was a secret mechanic only he knew about. With a confident smile, Nie Yan accepted the hidden quest to collect 21 giant rat tails, perfectly aligning with his other 2 tasks. Out in the fields, the paw of a creature crept silently through the tall grass. It was a silver-gray giant rat, the very monster he needed to hunt to complete all 3 of his quests at once. Nie Yan lunged forward, unleashing Vital Strike. The skill, which didn't even require a dagger, dealt a massive 21 points of damage, far more than a level 0 player should be capable of. The rat collapsed instantly. A skull and a tail appeared as loot, putting him on the fast track to completing his missions. To his surprise, his very first kill yielded a rare gear drop, glowing brightly in the field. The item was a pair of tough leather leggings, common gear but a valuable find for any new player. Nie Yan immediately recognized its value. Selling these leggings on the auction house would provide the extra copper he needed for the next stage of his plan. But his hunt was just beginning. Soon, he was facing not one but an entire pack of the giant rats. He moved like a blur, chaining Vital Strikes together, efficiently cutting down one monster after another. It was clear this farming session would be over in no time. His expression was sharp and focused, like a seasoned veteran flawlessly executing a well-rehearsed strategy. For the next hour, he repeated this process without stopping. An hour later, after relentlessly grinding, Nie Yan returned to the village, his inventory full of the quest items he needed. He turned in all his items, completing the quests for Hunter Klaus, Farmer End, and the hidden one for Apothecary Ore. As a reward, he received 34 copper coins and some health potions. Without wasting a moment, he listed the leather leggings he found on the auction house. With his funds secured, he headed straight for the weapon shop. His destination was the town's main weapon shop, the next critical step in his plan. Inside, the shopkeeper gave him a hearty welcome, boasting that his weapons were the best in the land. But Nie Yan wasn't here to browse. He cut straight to the chase, laying out his very specific requirements. A level 0 crossbow with a minimum attack and fire rate, all for under 40 copper. The shopkeeper grinned, presenting his masterpiece, a rapid-fire hand crossbow. With its triple-shot effect, it was the perfect fit for Nie Yan's needs, priced at exactly 35 copper. Nie Yan confirmed the purchase immediately, also buying 9 bundles of 1,000 iron bolts each. The total cost came to 44 copper, almost all the money he had. With his new weapon and a massive supply of ammunition in hand, he left the shop as the owner wished him safe travels. Now fully equipped, Nie Yan set his sights on his true objective, the Bison Zone. He knew the game had a strict level suppression system. The monsters in the Bison Zone were level 8, impossibly strong for a low-level player. Even high rankers couldn't touch them at this stage. But Nie Yan was unfazed. He was confident that with his knowledge from the future, he could overcome the massive level gap, even as a level 0 player. He arrived at the wild Bison Zone. The area was a vast, open plain dotted with herds of high-level monsters and treacherous, rocky cliffs. Nie Yan carefully made his way through a narrow ravine, heading for a very specific location he remembered. He climbed to a high ledge, reciting a set of coordinates from memory. This was it, the exact spot he was looking for. From his perch, he scanned the fields below and quickly found his target, the zone's boss, the Bison Chieftain. It was a formidable level 8 chieftain rank monster, an enemy that no player should even dream of fighting at this stage of the game. But Nie Yan was perfectly calm. This spot gave him the perfect angle and distance. The boss was right within his crossbow's range. He took aim and fired, sending a volley of bolts flying toward the unsuspecting boss. The shots landed, but the massive level gap meant most of them missed. Even the ones that hit only dealt a single point of damage. But it didn't matter. He had brought 9,000 bolts with him, fully intending to slowly cheese the boss to death from his safe spot. He continued to fire relentlessly, the tiny damage numbers slowly but surely chipping away at the chieftain's health bar. The boss grew enraged, its health barely dented, unable to retaliate against its unseen attacker. Provoked beyond its limit, the Bison Chieftain let out a roar and charged toward the cliff face in a desperate attempt to reach its attacker. But its attack slammed uselessly against the rock. Nie Yan watched calmly, telling the beast to give up. This was a glitch spot, a place in the terrain confirmed by history where monsters couldn't reach the player. The boss was completely helpless against him. From his safe perch, Nie Yan continued to fire relentlessly. Even though most shots missed, he just needed one to hit every so often, slowly chipping away at the boss's immense health. The air was filled with the sound of thousands of bolts flying through the air, a testament to his unwavering patience. He watched his ammunition count drop from over 8,000 to 6, then 5. It was a long and grueling process. 3 hours later, the Bison Chieftain's health was finally in the red. It let out a final, agonizing roar, its defeat imminent. Nie Yan was sweating, exhausted from the sheer monotony. He had burned through nearly 4,000 bolts and couldn't believe the beast was still alive. With one final shot, a bolt flew true, striking the enraged chieftain right between the eyes. Its health bar finally hit 0. The seemingly invincible boss was defeated by a single level 0 player. The massive creature began to sway, its enormous body losing all strength. With a final, heavy thud, the Bison Chieftain collapsed, shaking the very ground beneath it. A system window exploded in front of Nie Yan. He had killed the Bison Chieftain, earning a staggering 1,800% experience bonus due to the level gap. In an instant, he shot straight up to level 2. His long and patient battle had paid off immensely. He jumped down from the cliff, eager to see what loot the boss had dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The boss had dropped a horned dagger, a bronze-grade weapon, an incredibly rare find at this stage of the game. In Conviction, gear was ranked from common to legendary. Since elite monsters were so scarce, the drop rate for stat-based gear was less than 1 in 1,000, making every piece a treasure. A bronze weapon alone boasted 20% more attack than common gear, and came with a valuable bonus stat. Nie Yan knew this level 5 dagger was worth a fortune, at least 3 silver coins. But first, he needed to get its unidentified stats revealed. Just then, he got 2 notifications. His leather leggings had sold for 8 copper, and he was receiving a call from a player named Flying Stone, a paladin he vaguely remembered. Flying Stone appeared on the call, ecstatic. He gushed about how the farming coordinates Nie Yan gave him worked wonders, boosting his leveling speed by 50%. He felt like he was ripping Nie Yan off, having only traded a single book for such a great spot. Nie Yan coolly told him not to worry about it, simply asking for a copy of the Owl's Insight skill book if it ever dropped. Flying Stone enthusiastically agreed, then curiously asked how a level 0 player like Nie Yan knew about that spot. Nie Yan gave a simple lie, claiming he had a previous high-level account before re-rolling as a thief. This immediately impressed Flying Stone, who assumed he must have been a top-tier ranker. Changing the subject, Flying Stone asked if Nie Yan's main had ever run the Fallen Shaman camp. He explained that his own team had wiped there multiple times, losing gear and EXP. Sensing an opportunity, Nie Yan calmly offered a full, clear guide for the camp. The price, 2 silver, non-negotiable. Flying Stone was shocked he even had one. Overjoyed, Flying Stone placed his full trust in him, promising to go convince his captain to pay up right away. After finishing the call, Nie Yan refocused on his prize. It was time to get his new dagger identified. He made his way back to Track Town, heading for the appraiser to get his new weapon's stats revealed. Inside, a beautiful elf appraiser with sharp eyes greeted him. He presented the unidentified weapon, asking for her services. The elf appraiser examined the weapon with a knowing smile and quoted the price for her services, a steep 10 copper coins. Nie Yan was surprised by the high fee, but he knew exactly what it implied. In Conviction, identification fees were a percentage of an item's value. A 10 copper fee meant the dagger was worth at least 12 silver on the open market. This was a worthy investment. Without a second thought, he handed over the coins and confirmed the identification. The appraiser began her work, channeling a powerful energy that enveloped the dagger in a brilliant, golden light. The results were staggering. The horn dagger was a bronze-grade weapon with a level 0 requirement. It provided a massive plus 18 to his attack stat and an additional plus 5 to strength. Nie Yan was ecstatic. The bonus stat had rolled as plus 5 strength, boosting his damage even further. With base stats nearly 10 times higher than a normal dagger, he knew that with this weapon in hand, he was now practically invincible in the early game. Nie Yan calmly assessed his abilities. With a weapon, a vital strike skill, and stealth, he had the perfect assassin's toolkit. The only thing he was missing was a way to sustain himself through long fights. For thieves, there were 2 ways to heal, potions or bandaging. Potions were fast but burned through money. But for a Reborn player like him, who knew the value of every coin, the choice was obvious. Bandaging was the slow but smart way to go. Before heading out, he stopped by the apothecary. He had a specific plan in mind, and for that, he needed 2 minor underwater breathing potions. Inside, the alchemist handed over the goods. But first things first, Nie Yan decided it was time to learn the bandage mastery skill he'd been planning on. With his preparations complete, he set off for his destination, the remote and dangerous Lake Rando. The path to the lake was teeming with monsters. Nie Yan moved like a shadow, taking them down with swift strikes. He knew out in the wild you had to stay sharp, as kill-stealing and arguments could break out at any moment. He finally arrived at the Lake Rando fisherman village. The path led straight through the densely populated area. He knew that taking this place on directly would require a raid team of 1,000 men. For a solo player like him, stealth was the only option. But just as he was about to sneak in, a zone announcement flared to life. The victorious Return Guild was clearing the area, ordering all non-guild players to leave within 3 minutes. Nie Yan's eyes narrowed. Victorious Return? The name triggered a bitter memory. Just like in his past life, they were arrogant bullies, claiming entire zones for themselves and hunting down anyone who got in their way. He remembered all too well how they had hunted him for months. A fire ignited in his golden eyes. This wasn't just an obstacle, it was a chance for payback. He decided then and there that he would settle the score with them, one piece at a time. Instead of retreating, Nie Yan activated his stealth skill, his body fading into the shadows. He was going to walk right through their front door without them ever knowing. He moved silently through the village, a ghostly blur slipping past the dangerous fishman guards. Suddenly his stealth broke. A fireball erupted in front of him, revealing his position to everyone. He'd been spotted. The blast hit him head-on, knocking him back. A system notification popped up. Another player, Purple Blaze, had attacked him, and self-defense mode was now active. An elementalist from Victorious Return stepped forward, a smug look on his face. He mocked Nie Yan, telling him to get lost. Seeing he was alone, the mage was confident he could handle this himself. Nie Yan dodged another blast. His mind raced. Against a mage, there were only 2 options: close the distance and attack, or run like hell. But running wasn't his style. He knew the mage's pyroblast spell took 2 seconds to cast, plenty of time for a thief like him to close the gap. He charged forward, surprising his opponent. Before the mage could even finish his spell, Nie Yan was already on him, driving a vicious stab right into his chest and wiping out a massive chunk of his health bar. Furious, the mage retaliated, screaming that this spot belonged to Victorious Return and that Nie Yan had a death wish. To keep Nie Yan at a distance, he unleashed a new spell, Ring of Fire, creating a swirling vortex of flames around himself. Nie Yan was caught in the blaze, his health rapidly ticking down from the intense heat. But Nie Yan was prepared. Without missing a beat, he consumed a minor recovery potion, instantly restoring a huge chunk of his health. This was the moment he had planned for. The mage was shocked. He expected his opponent to run, but instead, Nie Yan pushed through the flames and landed another clean hit. The mage screamed in panic, but it was too late. Nie Yan had broken through his defenses and was already in position for the killing blow. Watching Nie Yan burn, the mage frantically calculated their health. He guessed the thief must be on his last breath, while he himself only had 51 HP left. It was a race against time. He just needed to cast one more fireball to secure his victory. The mage, Purple Blaze, shrieked in fury, declaring this was the price for daring to cross the Victorious Return Guild. But his frantic attack was clumsy. Nie Yan sidestepped it with ease. In that brief opening, Nie Yan's dagger began to glow with a deadly red light. He lunged forward, unleashing his own skill, Vital Strike. The blade plunged deep into the mage. Purple Blaze stared in disbelief, his body starting to pixelate. He couldn't understand how a mere level 2 thief could survive his powerful spells. Nie Yan just smirked. As the mage's body dissolved, he finally figured it out, an instant recovery potion. But it made no sense. A solo level 2 player shouldn't have the gold for such a rare item. Nie Yan coolly told him he could ponder that mystery while waiting to respawn. The victory was his. He quickly looted the level 2 bronze staff the mage had dropped. There was no time to celebrate. He knew the rest of the Victorious Return Guild would be swarming the area any second. He had to get out of there. Just as he predicted, a cry of alarm went up from the guild members nearby. They'd seen Purple Blaze fall and were now shouting for everyone to catch the killer. Without a second's hesitation, Nie Yan bolted, making a break for the lake shore. The guild's warriors were hot on his heels, one of them taunting him, believing his escape was impossible. One of the fighters, wielding a massive greatsword, swung it down with incredible force, shouting that he'd never get away. But the warrior's flame slash was too slow. Nie Yan dodged it cleanly. The warrior was stunned. He couldn't believe the thief was fast enough to dodge an attack like that. Reaching the cliff's edge, Nie Yan pulled out the underwater breathing potion he'd bought earlier. The guild members behind him realized his plan and screamed for someone to stop him. The warriors desperately used their skills, charging and slashing in a last-ditch effort to intercept him before he reached the water. But in their haste, their coordination fell apart. The charging warriors slammed right into their own shield-bearer who was trying to cut Nie Yan off. Nie Yan glanced back, a faint smile playing on his lips as he watched his pursuers stumble over each other. Their attacks hit nothing but air and rock as he gracefully leaped from the cliff. With a loud splash, he disappeared beneath the waves of Lake Rando. The victorious return members could only stare helplessly at the water. They cursed in frustration. Without water-breathing potions of their own, they had no way to follow. A woman who seemed to be in charge arrived, demanding to know what happened. One of the warriors reported that their target had escaped into the lake. The leader calmly issued her next order: find out when Purple Blaze respawns and get the thief's player ID from him immediately. The report came in from the respawn point, relaying the message from Purple Blaze. The mysterious thief finally had a name: Nirvana Flame. As the guild leader on the surface vowed revenge, Nie Yan descended into the quiet depths of the lake. He had made a powerful enemy, but everything was going exactly according to his plan. Finally safe beneath the waves, Nie Yan breathed a sigh of relief. He'd shaken off the victorious return goons. Now it was time to collect his real prize. He remembered a hidden chest somewhere in these depths. Thanks to his memories, it didn't take long. Tucked away in the seaweed was the hidden treasure he was looking for. Inside, he found exactly what he came for: the fishman's water-repelling pearl, a special item that would let him breathe underwater for a full 30 minutes. It wasn't a particularly rare item, but for his current plan, it was a lifesaver. Just as he pocketed it, a trident shot passed his face. He'd been spotted. He had stumbled right into a fishman den. The creatures were swarming him from all sides. He knew fighting them here in their home turf was suicide. But as he looked up towards the surface, a clever idea began to form. The commotion he caused underwater had alerted the entire fishman tribe on the shore above. Meanwhile, the victorious Return Guild was still cutting a path of destruction through the fishman village, completely unaware of the new threat approaching. Nie Yan swam for the surface, intentionally luring the enraged horde of underwater fishmen right into the path of the unsuspecting guild. From the safety of the water, he watched with a grin as his two groups of enemies clashed. He couldn't help but thank victorious Return for unknowingly clearing a path for him. With the coast now in chaos, he swam towards his true destination, soon arriving at the central lake island. He broke the surface, taking a deep breath of fresh air. His plan had worked perfectly. But just as he did, a sudden scream for help echoed from the island. He turned to see a girl in trouble. He froze. That voice, that pink hair. It was Yao Yao, the holy mage from his old party. He couldn't believe fate had brought them together again so soon. Memories of their past life together flooded his mind. The battles they fought, the quiet moments by the campfire. They had a deep history, and finding her here and now, it felt like destiny. Back in the present, he saw Yao Yao struggling in the water, trying to fend off 3 aggressive water spiders. Without a second thought, he dove back into the water to help her. He closed the distance in an instant, unleashing a vital strike on one of the spiders attacking her. Surprised by the sudden help, Yao Yao quickly recovered and cast her own spell, Holy Judgment, on another spider. His physical strike and her holy magic hit their targets at the exact same moment. It was as if they had been fighting alongside each other for years. Together they made short work of the monsters. Standing on the shore, as the last spider dissolved, she turned to him and gave a simple, heartfelt thanks. He casually replied not to mention it, then introduced himself with his in-game name, Nirvana Flame. She repeated the name, Nirvana Flame, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. The name clicked in her mind, Nirvana Flame, which translated directly to Nie Yan. As she wondered if it was the Nie Yan she knew from real life, she formally introduced herself as Yao Yao. A friend request from Nirvana Flame immediately popped up. She smiled, telling him that since he saved her, they should add each other so she could return the favor. With the friend request accepted, a notification confirmed their new connection. Nie Yan smiled and asked what brought her all the way out to this remote island. Yao Yao explained she was farming the spiders for their water sacs. Coincidentally, Nie Yan was after a different drop from the same monsters, fine silk. Seeing they had a common goal, he suggested they party up. She readily agreed and, to his surprise, immediately opened a trade window. As a thank you gift, she offered him the fine silk she had already collected. The trade went through, and Nie Yan found himself with 12 spools of fine silk. At the current market price, that was easily worth 36 copper, a small fortune for a new player. She insisted, saying that 36 copper was a small price to pay for saving her life, especially since she didn't need the silk anyway. Hearing that, Nie Yan accepted her generous gift. But their conversation was cut short as a monstrous shape burst from the water. It was the Water Spider Lord, a chieftain-level boss. Yao Yao panicked. A chieftain was far too strong for 2 low-level players to handle alone. But there was no time to run. A notification confirmed their party was official and the fight was on. Nie Yan took the lead, instantly closing the gap and landing a solid vital strike on the boss. Without missing a beat, Yao Yao backed him up, unleashing a powerful, holy judgment of her own. Her holy magic slammed into the giant spider, dealing heavy damage and staggering the beast. The spider retaliated with a vicious swipe, but a quick warning from Nie Yan gave Yao Yao just enough time to leap out of the way. Switching tactics, Nie Yan drew his crossbow. He shouted that he would draw the boss's attention, telling her to focus on dealing damage. A volley of bolts struck the Spider Lord's eyes, enraging it and successfully pulling its aggro onto him. Nice, with the boss distracted, Yao Yao seized the opportunity to unleash her most powerful spells one after another. A brilliant beam of holy energy engulfed the Water Spider Lord, dealing a critical blow. The combined assault was too much. The mighty chieftain collapsed and sank beneath the waves, defeated. As the waters calmed, Yao Yao stood in stunned silence. She couldn't understand it. Fighting alongside him felt so natural. They had taken down a chieftain like it was just another weak monster. Their synergy was flawless, as if they had been teammates their entire lives. Nie Yan noticed her quiet, thoughtful expression and casually asked what was on her mind. Startled, she said it was nothing. She quickly changed the subject, complimenting his incredible skill and asking why a player like him was playing solo. He simply replied that he was used to it. Hearing he was a solo player gave her an idea. With a hopeful smile, she mentioned that her group was preparing to raid the Treant Forest and invited him to join them. Nie Yan asks about their team's shield warriors, wanting to know their exact stats. Yao Yao tells him they have 2 with 53 defense and 230 HP. He tells her it's not enough. The boss has a hidden critical hit chance that'll one-shot anyone with less than 60 defense. Yao Yao is stunned. She's never heard anyone mention a critical hit chance from the Treant King. She says getting bronze gear to hit 60 defense is just too difficult right now. Nie Yan offers another way. He takes over as commander for the team. Yao Yao agrees to try and convince the others, even if it's a long shot. The boss goes down, and Nie Yan moves in to check the loot. He pulls out some fine silk gauntlets, surprising her with his high-level appraisal skill. Since they're bronze-tier mage equipment, he hands them right over to her. The boss also dropped a rare thief skill book called Assassinate. Nie Yan keeps the skill book and the silk for himself. Yao Yao is thrilled with the haul, not even trying to be polite about taking the gear. Suddenly, a system message pops up. The server is closing for maintenance in 3 minutes. She waves him off, promising to see him next time. Nie Yan logs off as his character dissolves into pixels. He wakes up in his room, realizing it's already the morning of the second day. He decides that while he's leveling up in the game, his real body needs to stay in shape too. He knows Cao Su will have bodyguards, so he can't afford to be weak this time around. He heads out for a run through the city streets. Suddenly, a truck screeches its tires right in front of him. The impact sends him tumbling onto the pavement. He groans on the ground as someone rushes over to check if he's okay. It's Zai Yao, his deskmate from his past life. She scolds him for being so careless when she sees he's bleeding. She runs back to her car to grab a first aid kit. Nie Yan looks at her, remembering how she was destroyed by Cao Su's group in his previous life. Zai Yao carefully bandages his arm, telling him to stop being so rash. He stares at her, thinking about how she hasn't changed a bit. He teases her, asking if he's got her to look after him now. She huffs and walks away, leaving him standing there. As she drives off, she wonders why he seems so much more confident lately. His expression hardens. He knows he has to grow strong in the game to change their fate. His phone starts ringing, and it's his friend Tang Yao calling. Tang Yao screams through the line, demanding to know where he's been for 2 days. Nie Yan smiles, glad to hear his best friend is still doing well. He remembers how Tang Yao risked everything to support him in his past life. He also remembers the guy's tragic end in a dark alley, and he's determined to prevent it. Tang Yao catches up to him on the street and grabs him. Tang Yao asks if he's playing the new game, and Nie Yan reveals he's already a level 2 thief. Tang Yao brags about being a level 3 mage and drags him toward the PK bar. The PK bar is an entertainment club where players can bet on their own matches. Competitive matches here are always personal, with players betting high-tier gear or cash on every round. Wei Kai mocks Tang Yao as he walks in, asking if he's back to hand over even more of his money. He turns his gaze to Nie Yan, sneering at him and wondering if the last beating wasn't enough of a lesson. Tang Yao puts an arm around his buddy, telling him not to worry since he's there to protect him. Wei Kai finds it strange how calm Nie Yan is today, wondering if the kid actually found some courage. Tang Yao tells the group to stop talking and get to the pods. The stakes are 200 per round. The match screen lights up, Tang Yao's arcane mage against Wei Kai's berserker. Nie Yan knows this is a terrible matchup for a mage, especially against a berserker with a charged skill. The map is a wide-open plain, making it almost impossible for Tang Yao to dodge or find cover. Shifeng approaches Nie Yan, taunting him about his friend's losing streak and suggesting they play a round 2. Nie Yan agrees, but makes it clear he isn't interested unless they play for a real wager. Shifeng gets heated, putting his entire 700 on the line for a single match. The screen updates for the next duel, Nie Yan's Wind Thief against Shifeng's Ranger. The map is a dense bamboo forest, a perfect playground for a thief. Nie Yan instantly triggers his stealth skill and disappears from sight. Shifeng scans the area from the trees, trying to find any sign of movement. The Saberman began to get cocky, mocking Nie Yan as a coward who only knows how to hide. But Nie Yan is already right above him, his presence completely erased by his years of mastery. Shifeng finally looks up, but he's already too late. Nie Yan drops down with his blade, catching his opponent completely off guard. The first strike connects, instantly chunking Shifeng's health bar. The Saberman panicked as he realized Nie Yan had completely closed the gap and shattered his defenses. He struck back in a desperate frenzy. The blade merely grazed the protagonist's face. Having seen through his opponent's true strength, Nie Yan softly whispered, "It's over," before delivering the final, decisive blow. A vital strike hits for 70 damage, finishing the fight in a single flurry. Shifeng's avatar disintegrates into digital fragments, leaving him staring at a defeat screen. The crowd watching the monitors is in shock at how quickly the match ended. Nie Yan walks away, thinking that taking on a level 2 rookie felt more like bullying. Shifeng is left reeling, unable to comprehend how simple movements led to such a decisive kill. He takes off his helmet, shivering as he realizes how different Nie Yan has become. Wei Kai's lackey stood in dead silence, wondering if this was really the timid kid they used to bully. Tang Yao comes back from his pods looking defeated, having lost 1,200 in his matches. He complains about how the berserker's anti-magic aura is a hard counter to his mage. Nie Yan corrects him, explaining that the aura only reduces damage a bit and can be timed around easily. Tang Yao looks at his friend in surprise, wondering where he picked up all this advanced knowledge. Nie Yan simply hands over the 700, he just wants to help cover his friend's losses. One of Wei Kai's thugs steps forward, shouting at Nie Yan to stop getting cocky. The guy lunges forward with a punch, determined to teach him a lesson right there. But Nie Yan catches the fist midair with effortless precision. He uses the man's own momentum to slam him straight onto the floor. Nie Yan thinks back to his past life, where he practiced combat specifically to deal with people like Cao Su. Tang Yao is left speechless, wondering when his buddy became so formidable in real life. Shifeng and the others back away in fear as their group starts to fall apart. Wei Kai stares at Nie Yan, realizing the kid standing before him is fundamentally different from the one he used to bully. He holds his group back, stopping the physical confrontation to ask if Nie Yan really just defeated one of his lackeys in the game. Nie Yan remains completely unfazed, dismissively calling it a small match and nodding that the opponent was far too weak. Wei Kai mockingly invites him to a round, but Nie Yan makes it clear he isn't interested unless the stakes are high. Wei Kai offers 1,000 a round, but Tang Yao protests, calling it a blatant act of bullying for a level 3 berserker to challenge a level 2 Gale thief. Ignoring his friend's concerns, Nie Yan ups the ante significantly, proposing 3,000 credits for a single round. Wei Kai accepts the challenge, fueled by arrogance and the belief that a miracle is impossible for a player of Nie Yan's level. Tang Yao panics, grabbing Nie Yan and asking where he plans to get that kind of money for such a risky bet. Nie Yan casually reveals he's borrowing the money from him, and despite his fear, Tang Yao decides to risk everything to back his friend. The duel begins as both players materialize in the digital arena, the tension between the Gale thief and the berserker palpable. They are dropped onto a flat grassland map, providing almost no natural cover for a character that relies on stealth. Watching from the sidelines, Tang Yao is filled with dread, knowing how disadvantageous this terrain is for a thief. Wei Kai offers to change the map out of pity, but Nie Yan confidently declines, stating the current setting is perfectly fine. Nie Yan activates his stealth skill, his body blurring and then vanishing completely into the environment. Wei Kai stands ready in the open field, his eyes scanning the swaying grass for any hint of his opponent's position. The berserker is confident he can track Nie Yan by the movement of the grass, waiting for the slightest ripple to reveal him. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind sweeps across the plains, masking the sound and movement of anything else on the field. Nie Yan moves with the wind, using the natural disturbance to perfectly hide his tracks from the searching berserker. Wei Kai begins to sweat as the wind picks up, realizing he has completely lost track of where Nie Yan could be. He lashes out with a blind swing, hopping to catch the invisible thief, but his sword only cuts through empty air. He is genuinely impressed and terrified, having never seen someone utilize stealth and the environment with such masterful skill. Nie Yan waits patiently in the tall grass just behind his target, timing his strike for the next natural gust of wind. Wei Kai tries to convince himself that the kid must be moving slowly and must still be somewhere in front of him. The wind blows again, and Nie Yan pounces from the shadows, his blade finding an opening in Wei Kai's defense. The berserker takes a heavy hit, shock registered on his face as he wonders when his opponent managed to get behind him. The muscle-bound man immediately swung his greatsword to counterattack, but Nie Yan had already jumped back in time to dodge. Desperate to reclaim the momentum, Wei Kai unleashes a powerful whirlwind slash, his greatsword spinning in a wide arc. Nie Yan easily reads the attack, noting that the heavy weapon leaves a 1-second delay after the skill is cast. He sees that delay as his definite key to victory, positioning himself to exploit the berserker's momentary vulnerability. As Wei Kai's sword slows down, Nie Yan strikes, certain that now is his best chance to end the match. He moves through the field like a blur, his speed far exceeding what should be possible for a level 2 player. Nie Yan triggers Vital Strike, a high-damage ability that strikes right at Wei Kai's weakest point. The spectators are stunned into silence, amazed by the perfect timing and execution displayed by the supposed underdog. Wei Kai screams in pain as the massive hit connects, his HP plummeting toward the danger zone. With his health critically low, the berserker is driven into a frantic rage, unwilling to lose to someone he considers beneath him. He charges his final attack, Flame Slash, screaming for Nie Yan to just die as he brings down his burning blade. Tang Yao shouts for Nie Yan to get out of the way. Wei Kai is trying to force a gap with a Flame Slash, but Nie Yan knows staying close is his only advantage as a thief. The blade connects, tearing a chunk out of his health bar. Wei Kai laughs, calling him arrogant for trying to tank a direct hit. The berserker winds up for a massive 1-strike slash. A red arc of energy cuts through the air. The crowd thinks it's over, knowing that a successful charge will stun the thief and end the fight. Somehow, Nie Yan ducks right under the swing at point-blank range. He knows the charge distance is shorter than his dagger's reach. This is his chance. A quick counterstrike catches the warrior off guard. The impact sends a shockwave through the field. Wei Kai's health hits 0 instantly. Nie Yan slides back, barely maintaining his stance after taking the initial blow. The victory screen pops up, leaving the thief as the last one standing. The crowd is stunned. A level 2 thief just took down a level 3 berserker. Back in reality, Wei Kai stares at his helmet in disbelief. Tang Yao rushes over to celebrate, but Nie Yan just shrugs it off as a fluke. His friend is convinced he's a pro and begs for arcane mage tips. Wei Kai approaches the two of them. Surprisingly, he takes the loss like a man, and even invites them to his bar later. He turns to leave with his crew. His subordinate is confused by the kindness, but Wei Kai warns him that the kid is dangerous and shouldn't be an enemy. Nie Yan promises to help his buddy out once they're back in the game. Later that night, the grind doesn't stop. Nie Yan hits the floor for some sit-ups, realizing that a strong character needs a strong pilot. He pushes through a set of push-ups. After working up a sweat, he gets ready to dive back into Conviction. He slides the helmet on and initiates the login. Digital fragments coalesce as he manifests back into the world. A friend request from Ezzy pings on his interface. A message from Flying Stone arrives with the payment for the walkthrough he provided earlier. He accepts the request, figuring he can carry his friend through the Treant Forest later. But first, he has a hidden quest to turn in. He finds Physician Blevins and hands over the fine silks he gathered. The old man is impressed and offers to teach him a special skill as a reward. A prompt asks if he wants to learn intermediate combat bandage. Nie Yan accepts immediately. This was exactly what he came for. The skill allows him to restore 20 health over 10 seconds, even while in combat. The quest isn't over yet, sitting at only 20% completion. He realizes this is a rare chain quest. Blevins asks for even more silk, and Nie Yan is more than happy to oblige. A system notification pings on Nie Yan's screen. A pink-haired girl tells him the group is ready, and Nie Yan says he's on his way. He plans to farm some rare items in the Treant Forest to complete a high-level chain quest. Over at the Track Town teleport point, Tang Yao is already there, wondering where his friend is. Nie Yan shows up and tells him they're going after the Treant King today. They approach a large group of players waiting for them. Yu Lan and Yao Yao wave them over. Tang Yao's jaw drops at how attractive the girls are. The girl tells Nie Yan she had a tough time convincing Yu Lan to let him lead. A thief named Chen Bo scoffs, clearly not happy about the newcomer. Nie Yan gives a simple greeting, but Yu Lan can already tell he's the real deal by his calm vibe. Nie Yan gets straight to the point. He's confident, but only if he's the captain and everyone follows his orders. The other members aren't so sure about this. Chen Bo barks back, asking why they should listen to an outsider who might get them all killed. Yu Lan snaps at Chen Bo, reminding him they already agreed to the terms. She apologizes to Nie Yan for her teammates' attitude. Nie Yan doesn't budge. It's his way or the highway, and anyone who isn't down can leave right now. A system prompt appears as he forms the team. The players start joining one by one. Yu Lan makes it clear, if anyone tries to sabotage the run, they're kicked for good. Chen Bo reluctantly joins up, still looking sour. To settle the nerves, Nie Yan offers a deal. If they wipe because of his mistakes, he'll pay everyone 10 silver coins. The group is stunned. 10 silver is a massive fortune at their level. Yu Lan and Yao Yao are impressed by how bold he's being. Nie Yan starts the prep by having everyone report their names and stats. A tanky warrior reports in first. The rest of the mages and warriors follow suit. Nie Yan tells them all to go buy specific haste and strength potions. The mages start complaining about the cost, worried they won't even break even. Chen Bo mocks him, saying that buying all these potions is just a waste of money. Tang Yao fires back, offering to lend him some cash if he's too broke to afford them. The two start getting into a heated shouting match. Yao Yao asks if they really need this much for a normal run, but Nie Yan just tells her to trust him. He drops the bombshell. They aren't doing the normal dungeon, they're going for expert difficulty. Yu Lan gives the final word and tells everyone to gear up exactly how Nie Yan said. With everyone ready, the team heads out of the city gates. They arrive at the dense, misty entrance of the Treant Forest. Nie Yan tells the group to hang back while he activates the entrance. He finds the ancient stone tablet hidden among the trees. Ancient text begins to glow as he interacts with it. He mutters about the dark elves as the portal to the forest finally opens. Nie Yan stares at the difficulty selection screen. Without a second thought, he selects expert mode. A surge of energy teleports the entire team into the dungeon. The system title card for the Treant Forest appears. A notification confirms they've entered at expert difficulty. The team panics, realizing they're in way over their heads. Lan realizes Nie Yan did this on purpose. Chen Bo loses it, accusing Nie Yan of sabotaging the run to make them lose XP. Nie Yan isn't bothered. He tells the coward he's free to leave whenever he wants. Yao Yao steps in, telling Chen Bo that Nie Yan is her guest and he needs to stop the constant targeting. Chen Bo tries to save face, claiming he has no personal problem with her. But inside, he's fuming that she's defending an outsider over him. Nie Yan breaks it down. It's just 30% more HP and more coordination. Nothing impossible. Lan still wonders where his massive ego is coming from. Yao Yao asks if he's truly sure, and Nie Yan tells her to just relax. Chen Bo watches the back of Nie Yan's head, hoping he fails. The group moves deeper into the eerie, vine-covered woods. Suddenly, Nie Yan senses an attack and tells everyone to scatter. Massive roots whip out from the earth. Chen Bo is caught off guard and gets completely wrapped up. He struggles as the vines tighten their grip. A towering tree appears, ready to crush its prey. The monster squeezes the life out of the thief. Chen Bo screams for Nie Yan to save him. Another treant joins the attack from the shadows. Nie Yan doesn't hesitate, shouting orders for the mages to unleash everything. The shield warriors rush forward to create a wall. One of the tanks braces for impact as a vine slams into his shield. Spells fly from the backline, hitting the monster with everything they've got. A blast of energy explodes against the treant's trunk. The vines are severed, sending Chen Bo crashing to the ground. He immediately blames Nie Yan, accusing him of seeing the trap and not warning him. Nie Yan points out that even the warriors dodged it. His failure is his own fault. Tang Yao laughs, saying any random player would be a better thief than this guy. Lan tells Chen Bo he's embarrassed himself enough for one day. Nie Yan decides to take point and clear the way properly. The team picks up the pace, rushing through the forest. They keep a tight formation as they run. Nie Yan spots a massive log trap and tells everyone to stay back. He leaps into the air with incredible speed. Mid-air, he skillfully cuts through a series of tripwires. He looks back, making the expert-level maneuvers look like child's play. Nie Yan continues his run, slicing through forest traps with surgical precision. Watching from the sidelines, Tang Yao is visibly shaken by Nie Yan's fluid mastery of the thief class. Lan and the rest of the party can only stare in awe at his efficiency. Driven by jealousy, Chen Bo tries to show off, claiming he can clear traps just as easily. He recklessly charges forward, his boot coming down hard on a hidden pressure plate. In an instant, lethal spikes erupt from the ground, catching the arrogant thief in a deadly snare. Panic sets in as Chen Bo realizes he has no way to dodge the killing blow. Just before the spikes can claim him, a strong hand catches his arm and yanks him back. He is thrown unceremoniously to the safety of the dirt, gasping for air. Nie Yan looks down at him with cold indifference, calling him out for his amateurish mistakes. Humiliated, Chen Bo lashes out, accusing Nie Yan of deliberately leading him into the trap. Tang Yao steps forward, furious that someone would bite the hand that just saved their life. Nie Yan doesn't flinch, stating plainly that Chen Bo is simply unworthy of his class. Blinded by rage, Chen Bo draws his blade and challenges Nie Yan to a 1v1 duel. He lunges at the silver-haired thief, his movements sloppy and predictable. Nie Yan effortlessly shuts down the attack, mockingly suggesting Chen Bo bring friends next time. The thief stands frozen, stunned by the sheer gap in their power. Lan and Yao Yao quickly intervene, expressing their deep disappointment in Chen Bo's behavior. Desperate, Chen Bo tries to play the outsider card to turn his old teammates against Nie Yan. To his shock, even the team's tank tells him to shut up and stop the senseless targeting. Realizing he's lost his standing, Chen Bo lets out a bitter, mocking laugh before deciding he's done. A system notification chimes as Chen Bo leaves the party and vanishes into the dark woods. Yao Yao offers a sincere apology for the drama, but Nie Yan is glad to be rid of the dead weight. Looking ahead, Nie Yan resolves that he will eventually need to handpick his own elite squad. Yu Lan calls for focus. They still have a dungeon to clear and time is of the essence. 30 minutes later, the group reaches a dense part of the forest blocked by 18 treants. Yu Lan is hesitant to engage such a large group, but Nie Yan has already formulated a plan. He positions himself high above the forest floor, scouting the enemy formation from a branch. The team watches from below, unsure of what their new leader is planning. Nie Yan draws his specialized hand crossbow, a tool perfect for high-level pulling. With a confident smirk, he prepares to show them the art of god-tier monster management. Nie Yan pulls out a 3-shot hand crossbow and fires without hesitation. The arrows split midair, striking 3 separate points deep in the forest. Boiled Water and the others watch in shock, wondering if he just messed up his shot. Nie Yan doesn't miss a beat, barking out specific coordinates for Boiled Water to hold. The arrows did exactly what they were supposed to, waking up a large group of treants. The monsters roar and start swarming toward the team's position. Yao Yao is speechless. Using a 3-shot crossbow to pull aggro like that is legendary. Yu Lan asks where she found this guy, realizing that luring 18 treants at once takes insane precision. She stares at him, finally seeing that Nirvana Flame is on a completely different level. The treants crash into their line, swinging their heavy branches with massive force. Nie Yan keeps his cool, telling Boiled Water to steady his center of gravity while the others focus fire. He leaps into the fray, his strikes glowing with a burst of electric energy. Boiled Water braces behind his shield, amazed that Nie Yan's advice is actually making the blocks easier. Yu Lan and the priestess provide cover, telling the tank to hang on while they move to support. A massive shockwave ripples through the woods as they clash with the timber beasts. They take down the first few, the giant trees crumbling into piles of wood. As the dust settles, a golden glow catches their eye from the remains. Yu Lan picks up a pair of bronze-grade gauntlets, stunned that expert difficulty drops loot this easily. Yao Yao asks how he pulled that off, and Nie Yan just gives a confident smirk. He tells them to keep the momentum going, so they can clear the rest of the forest. He fires again, expertly pulling the next wave of monsters into their trap. They carve through the treants, the forest floor filling with debris. Nie Yan moves like a shadow, taking down targets with ruthless efficiency while the girls watch in awe. 20 minutes later, the team takes a breather, surrounded by the spoils of a successful run. Deep in the dark woods, the atmosphere shifts as they head into uncharted territory. Nie Yan looks ahead, focused on the goal he's been aiming for since they entered. He tells everyone to rest for a bit, promising that the real rewards are still waiting for them. Instead of following the main path, Nie Yan points toward the west. Yu Lan hesitates, remembering that way is a dead end, but Nie Yan tells them to just trust him. He knows exactly what he's doing, heading for a hidden storyline no one else has discovered. A faint flute melody drifts through the trees, making the group stop in their tracks. They spot a figure sitting on a rock in the distance, the treant herder Ianpat. The old man sits alone, playing a somber tune for the forest he used to guard. He tells them of a time when treants and humans lived side by side in peace. Everything changed when dark cultists appeared, bringing a corruption that poisoned the woods. The treants lost their minds, turning into mindless killers that slaughtered everyone in sight. The Council of Elders eventually stepped in, planning a crusade to stop the treant king. Ianpat warns them to leave before nightfall, when the monsters become even more powerful. Nie Yan bows respectfully, explaining that they're here to take down the treants and restore order. The old man's face contorts with rage as he mentions the beasts who stole his flute. Yu Lan and Yao Yao can't believe their eyes. He's actually triggering a hidden quest. Tang Yao watches his friend in disbelief, wondering when Nie Yan became such a monster in this game. Nie Yan explains that triggering this hidden quest is their only shot at taking down the expert-grade treant king. Ian is shocked the young rogue actually spotted the dark elves who have been causing all this chaos. The old herder hands over some dust of appearance, telling them they must reclaim his stolen flute. It's a specialized consumable that reveals any hidden enemies in the immediate area. With the special item in hand, Nie Yan signals the rest of the team to follow him. He grabs onto a thick vine to begin his descent into the ravine below. He slides down with ease, leading the way into the shadows. Yao Yao asks if he can actually track down those elves, and he's 100% sure he can. The dead forest looms under a cold, full moon as the team pushes deeper into the unknown. The group traverses a narrow stone ledge, with the drop-off disappearing into the pitch black. Nie Yan stops the group right in their tracks, declaring that they've got their targets cornered. Yao Yao is confused how he's so certain, but he knows they've been stalked since they first entered. Suddenly, she gasps as she senses something cold and malevolent nearby. Dark smoke begins to swirl around them. The hidden stalkers have finally decided to reveal themselves. Nie Yan and Yu Lan crouch in the shadows of the cave. He explains that these two dark elves are skittish, so they have to take them down in one clean move before they can bolt. A dark, mist-like shadow creeps across the rocky floor as one of the elves wanders past their hiding spot. The entire team waits in silence further down the passage, watching the faint outlines move toward the trap. Nie Yan lunges forward and tosses the revealing dust. They took the bait perfectly. The shimmering powder coats the air, forcing the invisible stalkers to show their forms. Two puny dark elves are suddenly caught in the open, looking completely panicked now that their cover is blown. One of the elves lets out a desperate roar as it tries to find an escape route. Tang Yao and Boiled Water step out to block the path. Tang Yao grins, asking them exactly where they think they're going. Backed into a corner, one of the elves lunges at Tang Yao with its claws bared. Boiled Water steps in to tank the blow, while Tang Yao starts mana-charging a spell. Tang Yao channels a massive swirl of fire between his palms. The fireball slams into the dark elf, lighting it up as it screams in pain. Yu Lan draws her sword and rallies the rest of the group to jump in and finish the job. The skirmish turns into a chaotic brawl. Nie Yan spots the item they're looking for hanging from one of the elves' belts. The remaining elf lashes out wildly, but Nie Yan is already moving in for the kill. The elf resisted in desperation, but Nie Yan easily dodged the attack. Nie Yan delivers a clean slash, landing a vital hit that drains a huge chunk of the elf's health. The rest of the team unloads their skills, overwhelming the two elves in a flurry of blades and magic. With the enemies down, Nie Yan reaches for the glowing loot left on the ground. He's got it. Nie Yan holds up a golden, ornate flute. This was the key to clearing the dungeon. It's Ian's flute, a quest item that significantly nerfs Treant-type creatures and gives the user a big health boost. Yao Yao calls Nie Yan over, pointing out that there's something else hidden in the grass. He picks up a weathered piece of parchment. It's not just loot, it's a letter. This triggers a branching storyline, a secret message warning of a Drow tribe counterattack on the Hilton fortress. Yu Lan stares at the letter, unable to read the elvish text. Nie Yan tells her it's a special quest they can turn in once the forest is cleared. The other teammates are pumped. Finding a hidden quest like this was a total surprise. Nie Yan hands the flute to Boiled Water. Since he's the main tank, he needs the extra HP to face the Treant King. Boiled Water is stunned. With 300 extra health, he's not even afraid of the boss anymore. The team moves out, but Tang Yao stays behind for a second, noticing how everyone's attitude toward Nie Yan has flipped. Tang Yao smiles to himself, proud that his friend is finally showing these guys what he's capable of. Nie Yan leads the way deeper into the forest, his cloak fluttering behind him as they approach the end. A heavy rumble shakes the ground, and smoke rises from the dense tree line ahead. They start cutting through the remaining treants, clearing the path with rapid strikes and coordinated magic. A massive, twisted root erupts from the earth, signaling that the big one has finally arrived. Boiled Water admires his new bronze round shield. It's leagues better than anything he's ever ground for before. Yu Lan hesitates before asking Nie Yan if she can buy the shield from him, knowing he was the one who led them to it. She figures with gear like this, her team might actually stand a chance in higher dungeons on their own. Nie Yan tells her to just take it. He's only here for thief equipment and a specific jewel the boss drops. Yao Yao is grateful but feels bad about him taking such a loss on the loot. She thanks him sincerely. The ground cracks open as a colossal branch smashes down, shattering the terrain around them. An explosion of dust and debris clears to reveal the massive guardian of the forest. Everyone braces themselves. Nie Yan shouts for the team to pay attention and set up their formation immediately. He tells the shield warriors to move to the front. Emerging from the fog is the Trient King, a level 4 Lord-grade boss with 10,000 health. The real fight starts now. The Trient King towers over them, screaming about damn humans daring to set foot in its territory. It's not exactly a warm welcome. The massive beast slams its vine-covered arms down, shouting for them to go to hell as it tries to crush Nie Yan. Nie Yan is a blur of movement, leaping over a massive root sweep with insane agility. The guy's reactions are on another level. He backflips away from another strike, landing perfectly on his feet without breaking a sweat. The priestess is completely floored. She can't believe a level 2 thief is handling a level 4 Lord-grade monster like it's a tutorial boss. Nie Yan snaps everyone back to reality, ordering boiled water to take the aggro while the mages keep their distance. He's taking full command of the raid. Boiled water charges in and lands a hit, but the boss's defense is so high he barely scratches it. This is going to be a long fight. The mages open fire, sending bolts of magic flying toward the giant tree from all sides. The entire team surrounds the Trient King, unloading their best skills to chip away at its massive health pool. A massive explosion rocks the clearing, but the damage numbers popping up are still depressingly low. Fire and smoke fill the air as the team pushes their offensive as hard as they can. The boss retaliates with a heavy blow that sends Boiled Water's health plummeting. Nie Yan screams for him to use the flute right now. Boiled Water manages to blow the flute through the chaos. Hopping the buff is as good as Nie Yan said. The flute's magic kicks in, surrounding the Trient King in a green aura that slashes its stats by half. Now they have a real fighting chance. Nie Yan orders the mages to focus strictly on fire spells. He knows the boss has massive ice resistance, so anything else is just a waste of mana. Tang Yao steps up with a confident smirk. Fire spells are his specialty, and he's ready to turn this tree into kindling. Nie Yan pulls the priestess aside to check if she has the dispel skill. She's a bit shaky, but nods that she does. He warns her that the boss is about to use a fear spell. If Boiled Water gets hit, she has to cleanse him the exact second it happens. Nie Yan tells her to just relax and wait for his signal. He's got the timing down perfectly. The Trient King unleashes a wave of dark green energy. It's the fear spell, and it hits the front line like a physical wave. Boiled Water is hit hard, his movement stuttering as the CC takes hold. Nie Yan bellows for the cleanse. The priestess channels her staff, releasing a burst of golden light to break the curse. Boiled Water snaps out of it instantly, raising his shield just in time. Nie Yan calls it a perfect cleanse. The priestess is genuinely surprised and relieved that she actually pulled it off under all that pressure. The team doubles down on the attack, hitting the boss with everything they've got. The Trient King lets out an earth-shaking roar as its health drops below 3,000. It's hurting now. The boss turns a dark, menacing shade as it enters its enrage phase. Nie Yan warns everyone to brace themselves. It's about to get ugly. Yu Lan grinds her teeth, shocked that this thing even has an enrage mechanic. She wasn't prepared for the boss to get faster and stronger. Nie Yan barks out orders for Boiled Water to switch to a full defensive stance. He needs to survive the next few seconds at all costs. He tells the healers to start chugging their mana pots and spamming heals non-stop. They can't let the tank's health dip for even a second. The mages and priests are in high gear, their hands glowing as they dump every bit of mana into keeping the raid alive. The Trient King slams into Boiled Water's shield with a crushing blow that almost knocks him back. Boiled Water is barely holding on, his arms shaking from the sheer force of the attack. He doesn't know how much longer he can tank this. Waves of healing magic wash over him, keeping his health bar from hitting 0 by just a sliver. He digs his heels in and blocks another massive swipe, the impact echoing through the clearing. Boiled Water realizes that if it weren't for the perfect heals and that flute, he'd have been a goner 3 attacks ago. He quickly downs a health potion, finally understanding why Nie Yan insisted they stock up on supplies before entering. The enraged Trient King gathers its power for one final, desperate flurry of attacks. The ground shatters as the boss's roots smash down, but the tank is still standing in the middle of the debris. Nie Yan calls for a final push. The boss is at death's door, and they just need one good burst to finish it off. Yulan and the other melee fighters unleash their strongest skills, Holy Light Slash and Heroic Strike connecting at the same time. A blinding surge of magic slams into the Trient King as the entire team unloads every last bit of their power. This is it. Nie Yan lunges forward for the finishing blow, his blade glowing with lethal energy. This is the moment they've been working for. The Trient King is completely exposed, its massive form unable to defend against the thief's lightning-fast strike. Vital Strike, Nie Yan plunges his blade home, dealing a massive finishing blow that finally empties the boss's health bar. The giant tree lord lets out one final, agonizing roar as it begins to crumble from the inside out. In a spectacular explosion of green light and splintering wood, the Trient King is finally defeated. A heavy silence falls over the clearing as the smoke clears. The team stands in shock, barely able to process that they actually cleared an expert dungeon boss. Yao Yao and the others are breathless. She never thought this ragtag party could actually pull off a victory against a Lord-grade enemy. Boiled Water and the priestess are already praising Nie Yan. They know they would have been wiped out 10 times over if it wasn't for his perfect shot calling. Shafts of golden light descend as the massive XP reward hits the party. Everyone's levels are jumping up after taking down such a powerful boss. Nie Yan ignores the celebration for a moment, walking toward the shimmering loot left in the boss's wake. He finally found it. He holds up a glowing amber gemstone, the Featherfall Jewel. All that effort and planning was worth it just for this one legendary drop. A dark gold quality accessory with no level requirements. This is a holy grail item for a thief, providing insane stat boosts and a unique weight reduction effect. Nie Yan just hit the jackpot. Nie Yan is hit by a sudden burst of golden light as he levels up. He clenches his fist, feeling the rush of power after finally reaching level 3. A system alert flashes across his vision, confirming 1,200 Team Glory points for the successful Trient Forest run. The rest of the party is stunned by the reward, with Tang Yao shouting that he's never seen a spike that high from just one dungeon. Nie Yan tells the group to split the remaining loot while he heads to Kalor City to turn in a quest. Yao Yao watches him with a soft, impressed look. Yulan thanks him sincerely, her previous skepticism completely replaced by respect for his leadership. A flash of blue light at the Kalor City waypoint signals his arrival in the bustling capital. Nie Yan steps onto the stone pavement, moving with a confidence that draws curious looks from passing players. The news of their return spreads through the square, leaving other players wondering how his team managed to level up so fast. Watching from a distance, TR letter 1 EA7N Bach glares at the thief, his face twisted in a silent promise to pay him back for the earlier humiliation. Nie Yan makes his way to the Kalor City military garrison, where the Empire's golden flags snap in the wind. He stands before Warlord Kavaret, a battle-hardened commander who towers over him with a stern, questioning gaze. The young thief presents the intercepted documents, detailing the Hilton stronghold threat. Kavaret's expression shifts to one of deep focus as he realizes the gravity of the intelligence. He commends the young man for his massive service and offers a reward befitting a hero. A massive haul of experience and silver floods into Nie Yan's inventory, along with a rare skill book for stun. With the skill and bonus stats secured, he's more than satisfied with how well the hidden quest paid off. Nie Yan regroups with Tang Yao and the others, who are curious about his next move. The thief coolly mentions that he plans on soloing the elite boss, Lion King Kador, now that he has the Featherfall Jewel. Yao Yao and her team say their goodbyes, as Nie Yan promises to mail them their shares after the gear sells. Tang Yao practically begs to be taught the ropes of an arcane mage, his eyes sparkling with newfound ambition. First, they head into the city's blacksmith shop to upgrade the mage's basic equipment. Nie Yan also gears up, fitting himself with a full set of bronze-grade leather armor and horsehide boots. New gear equipped, the duo sets off toward Rain Hills for some serious grinding. Jagged peaks and purple lightning define the dangerous landscape of Rain Hills. Deep, shadowy caves litter the mountainside, home to the creatures they've come to hunt. Nie Yan challenges Tang Yao to farm as many bat teeth as he can within the next hour. The mage steps to the edge of a cave entrance, looking down into the dark abyss. He leaps down, magic already crackling around his hands as he enters the fray. A cave bat screeches, its red eyes glowing as it dives toward the intruder. A violent explosion of fire illuminates the dark cavern as Tang Yao's spell finds its mark. He smirks, feeling confident after taking the first one down so easily. Watching from the shadows, Nie Yan realizes he needs to pick up the pace himself if he doesn't want to get left behind. He blurs into motion, a streak of blue light as he enters another section of the cave. His blade flashes repeatedly, carving through the swarming bats with surgical precision. After 30 minutes, he pauses to count his haul of bat teeth, wondering how his friend is faring. A desperate distress message from Tang Yao pops up, shouting for help against a group of red names. Nie Yan's expression hardens at the mention of player killers from the Radiant Sacred Flame Guild. He sprints out of the cave, racing toward the coordinates where the gank is happening. The thief navigates the rocky maze of the hills, leaping from ledge to ledge as he closes the distance. Knowing that Tang Yao is currently kiting them through the terrain, Nie Yan lets out a cold, expectant smile. He skids to a halt, his boots kicking up dust as he prepares his counter-ambush. Nie Yan stands on a high ledge, looking down at the trio of players guarding the cave entrance. He confirms that they are indeed camping for Tang Yao. Diane Kang, an elementalist with reddish-brown hair, asks his team if they've caught the rat yet. The radiant warrior beside him laughs, calling the target a broke loser with 0 gear. Nie Yan watches from above, his eyes fixed on the ornate fire chaser set worn by the leader. He notes that as a red name, the elementalist will drop everything upon death. He activates stealth, his form vanishing into the air as the skill icon appears. He warns himself not to get overconfident against experienced peekers. A faint purple ripple follows his movement as he descends the rocks. He stays light on his feet, avoiding any loose stones. Diane Kang suddenly turns toward the sound of movement, sensing something is off. The radiant warrior looks at him, asking what's wrong. Nie Yan bursts forward from his hidden position, kicking up a trail of dust as he charges. The wind whips around him as he breaks cover. Diane Kang shouts for his team to fall back, his staff already glowing with gathering mana. He tracks the blurring figure of the thief with a sharp gaze. The elementalist casts Ring of Fire, a circle of flames erupting around him for protection. He mocks the thief, asking if he really thinks he can loot his gear. The radiant warrior lunges forward with his sword raised, shouting for the kill. Nie Yan weaves through the rocky terrain, narrowly avoiding the arc of the fire. Nie Yan pops a scroll of swiftness, a system prompt showing a 20% speed boost for 30 seconds. He realizes he can't let the elementalist maintain his distance. A burst of fire hits him for 35 damage, but a system notification confirms self-defense mode is active. He now has 30 minutes to fight back without penalty. The thief dives straight through the flames, ignoring the damage to close the gap. Diane Kang's eyes widen in disbelief as the assassin emerges from the heat. The elementalist's face contorts in shock as he stammers, unable to believe how fast the thief is moving. He watches helplessly as Nie Yan reaches him. Nie Yan strikes with Assassinate, his dagger glowing as it carves into his target's side. A critical hit for 40 damage lands squarely. Diane Kang begins a desperate cast for Scorching Pyroblast, a massive spiral of fire forming around his staff. He grits his teeth, trying to finish the spell before it's too late. The radiant warrior leaps from above, his sword wreathed in lightning and fire as he tries to intervene. Nie Yan senses the incoming strike and prepares to counter. He parries a flame slash with a swift upward flick of his dagger. Sparks and embers scatter as the two weapons collide. The force of the block knocks Nie Yan back slightly, and a small -13 damage indicator pops up. He stays balanced, eyes already scanning for the next threat. The radiant priest raises his staff, channeling a bright holy light as he sneers at the thief. He calls Nie Yan a rat, ready to back up his allies. The radiant warrior's blade smashes into the ground, sending a shockwave of dust and debris into the air. Nie Yan uses the cover to adjust his position. He notes that Scorching Pyroblast has a 5-second cast time and calculates the distance. He realizes he can reach the Elementalist before the spell is finished. Nie Yan lunges through the smoke, his silhouette a blur against the glowing orange fire. He closes the final few meters with a sudden burst of speed. He delivers a strike that triggers an interrupt, indicated by a blue system message. Dian Kang reels back as his massive fire spell is shattered. A stun icon appears above the Elementalist's head, showing swirls over his eyes. He stands paralyzed, unable to move or defend himself. Nie Yan follows up with a series of quick slashes, numbers for -20 and -18 damage popping up. He carves through the vulnerable target without hesitation. Dian Kang shouts in panic, his last words a desperate command for his team to peel the thief off him. He begins to dissolve into particles of light. The Radiant Warrior screams about the thief's impossible movement speed as he charges back in. He can't keep up with the agile assassin. The warrior activates charge, lunging forward with his heavy blade held high. A shield of wind forms around him as he closes in. Nie Yan leaps out of the way, the warrior's blade missing by inches and slamming into the earth. Dust and gravel spray in all directions from the impact. Mid-leap, the thief prepares his next attack, his eyes focused on the warrior's exposed neck. He holds his dagger in a reverse grip. He executes Vital Strike, plunging his blade down for 60 damage. The warrior grunts as the heavy blow lands. A bright burst of light marks Dian Kang's final death, and a system message confirms the kill. Nie Yan gains 1 reputation point for taking down a red name player. The Radiant Warrior shouts for the Radiant Priest to loot the inventory back immediately. He lunges at Nie Yan again, his sword glowing with fire. Nie Yan catches a glowing orb of loot midair, a satisfied look on his face. He confirms that the Fire Chaser set is now in his possession. A linear strike from the Radiant Warrior cuts through the air, dealing 17 damage as Nie Yan is caught in the path. He maintains his footing despite the impact. The warrior shouts for his team to not let the thief get away. The priest grits his teeth, knowing they're in trouble if they have to explain this to the boss. Nie Yan takes another -16 damage as he weaves through a stray attack. He doesn't slow down, keeping his momentum going. He activates Combat Bandage, blue light wrapping around his arm as he heals while running. A +20 healing indicator pops up above his head. The Radiant Priest looks on in shock, shouting that the thief is using a bandage skill. He realizes they can't catch up to someone with such high movement speed. Nie Yan checks his status, nodding that his HP is fully topped off. He confirms that his combat cooldowns have all reset. He digs his heel into the dirt, coming to a sharp stop as dust kicks up around his boot. Nie Yan vaults off a rocky ledge, his silhouette illuminated by the moon as he prepares to close the gap. The Radiant Warrior pivots with his massive broadsword, swinging in a wide arc to intercept the thief's descent. Nie Yan lands perfectly on the flat of the warrior's blade, using the enemy's own weapon as a stepping stone. He activates Vital Strike, plunging his dagger into the warrior's shoulder for a critical 55 damage. The thief's hand is a blur of motion as he readies his next skill, his weapon humming with dark energy. He executes Assassinate, his blade sinking deep into the warrior's back for another 38 damage. The Radiant Warrior roars in frustration, unable to shake the agile assassin off his back. Nie Yan pulls out a hand crossbow, the mechanical components clicking as he aims it point-blank at the warrior's head. 3 bolts fire in rapid succession, striking the warrior's heavy armor with a series of metallic thuds. The warrior clutches his chest as the final bolt sinks in, his HP bar dropping precariously into the red zone. He realizes he is 1 shot away from death and hesitates, his mind racing with the fear of dropping his own gear. Nie Yan looms over him, his face shadowed as he delivers a cold warning that there is no escape. A final, ruthless slash cuts through the warrior's defense, sending a spray of blood across the dark terrain. The warrior's body disintegrates into a swirl of white embers, leaving behind a glowing pile of loot. Nie Yan turns his attention to the Radiant Priest, who stands alone and defenseless among the rocks. The priest's face is pale with terror as he stammers, wondering how he is supposed to survive a duel with a thief. A shadowy, wolf-like aura looms behind the thief, marking him as the apex predator of this encounter. Nie Yan sneers, reminding the priest how much he enjoyed healing his allies while the thief was under fire. The priest lets out a final, desperate cry before the thief's blade ends his life. His staff falls to the ground, surrounded by the faint golden glow of a high-quality equipment drop. Nie Yan gathers the spoils, confirming that he has successfully looted the entire Fire Chaser set. He examines the set's stats, deciding it's the perfect bronze-grade upgrade for Tang Yao's fire-based build. Opening his messenger, Nie Yan reaches out to Tang Yao to check on his current status and location. Tang Yao replies from a cave at 231, 395, 285, his face lighting up with shock at the news of the looted set. The mage is overwhelmed with excitement, his eyes practically turning into stars at the sight of the high-tier gear. He laughs, declaring that the risk of being ganked was entirely worth it for a reward this great. Nie Yan stands on the edge of a high cliff, overlooking the dark expanse of the hills. He decides to stay on the hunt, intending to eliminate more members of the Radiant Sacred Flame Guild. A flock of crows takes flight from the dark forest canopy as a new group of players enters the clearing. A man with a thick mustache and dark armor receives a message, his expression hardening as he announces Diane Kang's death. The group reacts with shock and disbelief, questioning how their powerful leader could have been taken down. They speculate that a massive raid or a guild war must have been responsible for such a defeat. A member with a red headband interrupts, clarifying that the entire squad was wiped by a single person. The revelation that a level 3 thief was the culprit leaves the entire search party in stunned silence. The man with the mustache clutches his head, unable to comprehend how their top-tier stats were overcome. He asks for the thief's identity and is told the name Nirvana Flame, likely partying with an arcane mage. He informs the group that the guild has issued a bounty of 5 silver coins for every kill on Nirvana Flame. Tucked away in the shadows of a nearby tree, Nie Yan listens to the news of the kill order with a cold grin. He slips into stealth, dark purple energy swirling around him as he prepares to ambush the search party. The man with the mustache spins around, startled by a sudden rustling sound in the nearby brush. A massive horned deer chieftain charges out of the foliage, its glowing antlers aimed directly at the players. Noting that it is a solo spawn, the group decides to focus their fire on the chieftain before continuing their hunt. Nie Yan spots a vulnerability in the search party's formation, his gaze narrowing as he prepares to strike. The Radiant Warrior holds the chieftain's attention, commanding his teammates to kill it quickly so they can split the loot. He roars a challenge, his shield braced against the massive beast's onslaught. The horned deer chieftain slams its antlers against the shield with a thunderous impact, forcing the warrior to call for more haste. A swordsman and the mustache-wearing leader attack from the sides, their weapons carving into the chieftain's fur. The boss creature reels under the assault, its HP bar dipping as it takes a series of rapid hits. Secure in the backline, the elementalist tells his priest companion that they'll have the boss melted in 30 seconds. Behind them, Nie Yan's silhouette looms like a ghost, his presence entirely undetected by the overconfident casters. The thief draws his dagger with a practiced flick of the wrist, the blade humming with lethal intent. He strikes the priest first, delivering a heavy blow that leaves the healer stunned and unable to respond. Turning his fury on the elementalist, Nie Yan plunges his blade into the mage's back, drawing a cry of pain. A series of high-speed slashes follows, each strike dealing significant damage to the fragile elementalist. "We're getting ganked," the mage shouts, his face twisted in panic as he reaches for a survival potion. Nie Yan's blade strikes the elementalist's hand, shattering the potion bottle into a shower of glass and liquid. The elementalist falls to his knees, his eyes rolling back as he wonders how everything went so wrong so fast. Nie Yan stands over his first victim, his cold eyes already scanning for the next target as the mage dissolves into light. The priest snaps out of his stun, his hands clutching his head as he realizes the backline support has been wiped out. Before he can cast a single spell, Nie Yan is upon him, his daggers weaving a pattern of destruction across the healer's robes. The priest lets out a terrified gasp, his face pale as he realizes the sheer speed of the thief's attack. He attempts to invoke holy judgment to save himself, but a -30 damage indicator signals his impending demise. The Radiant Warrior is still struggling with the chieftain, his confusion growing as the forest behind him falls silent. He spots the white light of a player death and swears, realizing that the thief has successfully ambushed them. Chaos erupts in the clearing as the search party finds itself caught between the boss's fury and the assassin's blades. The warrior shouts a final, desperate command to kill the chieftain first, hoping to survive long enough to countergank the thief. The silver-antlered chieftain slams into a radiant warrior, sending him crashing into the ground with overwhelming force. Another guild member lunges forward with a linear strike, but the blow barely registers against the boss's massive health bar. The chieftain roars in fury, spraying a dark mist into the air as it begins its second phase rampage. The Radiant Sacred Flame group is barely holding on, their formation breaking as the beast tears through their ranks. Nie Yan watches the chaos from the safety of the brush, clicking his tongue in annoyance at his missed timing. The 3 surviving members are in critical condition, their HP levels hovering dangerously low after the boss's assault. Nie Yan narrows his eyes, calculating the risk of diving into a 3v1 fight even with their health bars in the red. The Radiant Warrior is sweating, frantically shouting into his comms for reinforcements to arrive before they all wipe. Nie Yan steps out from the shadows with a taunting grin, mockingly asking why 3 men are too scared to charge 1 thief. The warrior stands his ground, convinced that any movement is exactly what Nie Yan wants for a counterattack. The sound of rustling leaves and heavy footsteps signals that the guild's main force is closing in fast. Nie Yan gives a casual wave of farewell, telling them he's done playing with them for today. The guild members finally find their nerve and lunge forward just as the thief turns to run. Reinforcements finally burst into the clearing, but they find themselves staring at a whole lot of nothing. They look around in confusion, realizing they've completely lost the scent of their target in the dark forest. Nie Yan moves through the trees like a ghost, leaving only blurred trails of blue energy in his wake. The Radiant Warrior is furious, ordering every available man to fan out and hunt the rat down. Streaks of speed magic trail behind Nie Yan as he puts several hundred yards of forest between him and his pursuers. He pauses on a high ledge to catch his breath, looking down at the canopy with a confident smirk. He knows the layout of this zone better than the developers themselves. Catching him here is a fool's errand. Nie Yan decides it's time to shift gears and checks his messages to see how Tang Yao is holding up. Deep inside the rock spider cave, Tang Yao is carefully navigating the tunnels while keeping an eye on the level 5 mobs. Nie Yan drops down right behind his friend, scaring the absolute life out of the young mage. He pulls out the fire chaser set he stripped off Diane Kang and tosses the high-tier gear to Tang Yao. Tang Yao is wide-eyed with excitement, hardly able to believe he's holding such rare equipment. Once he suits up, his magic damage stat spikes to an incredible 50, making him the most dangerous mage of his level. Nie Yan leads the way deeper into the cavern, telling his friend to just follow his lead and stay focused. He recalls a silver chest, hidden in these depths, and knows they finally have the firepower to claim it. Tang Yao is hesitant about the level 5 spiders ahead, but Nie Yan is already moving to clear the first choke point. Nie Yan draws his blade and charges, his eyes locked onto the first group of crawlers guarding the path. A pair of rock spiders skitters down the walls, their health bars showing they're significantly higher level than the duo. Tang Yao channels his mana, winding up a powerful arcane flame spell to test out his new gear. A torrent of intense magical fire erupts from his hand, illuminating the entire stone passage in a golden glow. The fireball connects with a sickening sizzle, dealing 35 damage and catching the spider in a vortex of heat. Tang Yao is stunned by his own damage output, realizing he can actually shred mobs 2 levels higher than him. Nie Yan doesn't let the momentum slip, diving in with an assassinate strike to finish off the weakened beast. He shouts for Tang Yao to keep the pressure on as another wave of spiders starts skittering toward them. They're clearing level 5 mobs like they're nothing more than starter zone slimes, and the XP is rolling in. They sprint through the tunnels, their footsteps echoing rhythmically against the damp cavern floor. Gold and white light flashes through the darkness as the duo systematically deconstructs the nest. They push through the last line of defenders, clearing a path toward the very back of the cavern. Sitting alone on a raised stone pedestal is the silver chest, exactly where Nie Yan said it would be. Tang Yao is panicking because they don't have the lockpicking skill required to open the silver chest they just found. Nie Yan tells him to take it easy, reminding him that the game developers usually leave a workaround for players without specialized skills. He explains that in a high-stakes dungeon, the key to the treasure is almost always hidden right next to the prize. Right on cue, the rock spider chieftain emerges, a level 5 boss that's guarding the chamber with a full health bar. Tang Yao nearly jumps out of his boots, shouting in surprise at the sight of the massive 8-legged nightmare. He asks what the play is, and Nie Yan gives him a sharp look, simply telling him they're going to nuke it from orbit. Nie Yan gives quick tactical orders, warning his friend to keep at least a 20-yard distance so they don't pull extra aggro. Tang Yao gets into position, his eyes locked on the boss as the giant spider begins its lethal charge. The mage channels his newly boosted energy and fires off an arcane fireball to kick off the confrontation. The spell hits the spider dead center, shaving off 18 health points in a single fiery explosion. Nie Yan smirks, nodding that fire spells are particularly effective here thanks to a massive damage multiplier against the boss. He takes the point, telling Tang Yao that he'll handle all the crowd control while the mage focuses purely on DPS. Nie Yan lands a perfect stun, dealing a small bit of damage but keeping the beast pinned in place for several seconds. He shouts that the window is open, urging Tang Yao to pour on the damage while the boss is completely immobile. Tang Yao doesn't hold back, screaming, "Eat my arcane fireball," as he launches another devastating blast. The boss recovers faster than expected, breaking out of the stun and lunging forward with a terrifying screech. The giant spider moves with blinding speed, its massive legs thrashing as it forces the duo to scramble backward. A massive hit connects with Nie Yan, dealing a whopping 78 damage and nearly putting him into the ground. He quickly pops a combat bandage, the green aura of the heal ticking away as he desperately tries to recover. Tang Yao watches with a look of pure shock, realizing just how high the stakes are in this fight against a chieftain. Spikes of ice erupt from the cavern floor, narrowly missing Tang Yao as he dodges to the side at the last second. Nie Yan refocuses and shouts that he'll maintain the aggro, but he needs his partner to finish the job. Tang Yao grabs a minor mana potion and gulps it down, feeling the rush of blue energy surge back into his system. With his mana replenished, he starts casting again, determined to bring the oversized spider down once and for all. Another fireball explodes against the spider's face, dealing 25 damage as the beast reels from the intense heat. Nie Yan sees his opening and leaps high into the air, readying a vital strike to put an end to the battle. He drives his dagger into the spider's weak point, landing a massive 301 damage critical hit that shatters its carapace. Tang Yao stares in silence as the level 5 chieftain finally collapses into a heap of chitin and legs. The mage falls onto his back, completely exhausted and amazed that they actually took down a boss 2 levels higher than them. Nie Yan stands over the boss's remains, his eyes glowing as the experience from the hard-fought kill flows into him. They hit the jackpot with the first drop, a Meteor Fall skill book, a legendary AoE nuke for mages in the early game. The second book is Block, a vital defensive skill that allows physical classes to parry incoming attacks. Along with the rare books, they find a silver key, the perfect tool for opening high-tier chests like the one nearby. Tang Yao is losing his mind over the drops, clutching the Meteor Fall book like it's made of solid gold. Nie Yan explains that this skill is a god-tier asset for farming mobs and will stay relevant even into the mid-game. Tang Yao is hyped, though Nie Yan casually mentions it's still not quite on the level of ancient draconic magic. Tang Yao is confused by the mention of draconic magic, but Nie Yan just tells him he'll find out what it means eventually. They don't waste any more time and head back to the silver chest, resting in the center of the chamber. Nie Yan pulls out the silver key and carefully slides it into the ornate lock, his hand steady as he turns it. A glowing progress bar appears over the chest as the ancient mechanisms inside begin to click open. The lid swings open, and a brilliant golden light spills out, illuminating the faces of the two friends. Inside lies the silk spinner's ring, a legendary utility item that grants its wearer incredible mobility for climbing and jumping. The silk spinner's ring is a bronze-grade accessory with no level requirement, allowing the wearer to fire strands of spider silk to latch onto objects. Tang Yao dismisses the find as trash tier, but Nie Yan insists that for a thief, it's a god-tier artifact with endless utility. Nie Yan asks if his friend has successfully learned the meteor fall skill yet. Tang Yao confirms the process is complete. Peering into the dark tunnels, Nie Yan decides it's time to take the massive AoE nuke for a test drive against the cave's inhabitants. Nie Yan takes point, telling Tang Yao to begin his long incantation while he rounds up a massive group of spiders. The thief darts through the cavern, gathering aggro with ease as several rock spiders scuttle after his retreating figure. Tang Yao grits his teeth as the spiders close in, frustrated by the painfully slow cast time of his powerful new spell. A massive ball of flame descends from above as Tang Yao screams the name of the skill, Meteor Fall. The explosion rocks the cavern, instantly vaporizing the group of spiders in a single, devastating blast of fire. Nie Yan watches the destruction from a safe distance, thoroughly impressed by the beautiful nuke his friend just unleashed. Tang Yao stands amidst the smoking remains, shocked that he was capable of dealing such insane burst damage. Nie Yan claps his stunned friend on the shoulder, telling him to snap out of it so they can push deeper into the cave. The celebratory mood shifts as Tang Yao realizes he is completely out of mana and has burned through all his potions. Nie Yan realizes that casting Meteor Fall at such a low level was a mistake that completely drained his partner's resources. He stares into the dark abyss of the rock spider cave, recalling that the most important item in the game is hidden here. Tang Yao suggests he should head back to the city so he doesn't become dead weight while Nie Yan continues his search. Nie Yan agrees, deciding to use their walk out of the cave to explain some advanced arcane mage mechanics to his friend. The two emerge into a dark, rain-drenched forest as they leave the dangerous cave system behind. Tang Yao produces a town portal scroll, thanking Nie Yan for helping him survive and secure such a badass skill. Nie Yan gives him a small, supportive smile, reminding him that looking out for one another is exactly what brothers are for. A beam of light takes Tang Yao back to safety, leaving Nie Yan alone in the rain. He turns back toward the cave, his boots splashing in the puddles as he refocuses on his primary objective. Deep within the rock spider cave lies a page of the Chapter of Order, an item that every player in the game dreams of obtaining. The Chapter of Order and Chapter of Chaos are divine artifacts that have dictated the very laws of the continent for centuries. Each legendary chapter is composed of 6 volumes and 36 pages, all of which are currently scattered across the world. Assembling the Chapter of Order grants the wielder divine power to rebuild the world's laws and become the absolute master of light. Conversely, those who gather the Chapter of Chaos ascend as kings of darkness, gaining the power to destroy all global order. Currently, the game is in its infancy, with only the first expansion pack, Dust-Covered History, available to the public. Volume I of the Chapter of Order contains 6 distinct pages: justice, goodness, courage, wisdom, fairness, and freedom. These pages hold reality-breaking power, instantly catapulting any player who finds one to the top of the global leaderboards. In his past life, the masters of the top 3 super guilds relied solely on these chapters to build their massive empires. Nie Yan knows he is the only person currently in existence who knows the exact locations of these buried artifacts. With a cold, determined look in his eyes, he resolves to use this knowledge to forge his own myth in this life. He recalls the legend of Soaring Angel, an elven demon hunter who once wielded the Chapter of Justice. Facing hundreds of enemies, that man single-handedly wiped out a 100-man raid by summoning paladins of justice. The wielder of the Chapter of Wisdom was a holy mage named First Emperor Killer, a legend of the highest order. During a massive undead invasion, he purified over 300 necromancers at once with a single forbidden spell. Finally, there was Half-Awake Fox, the berserker who possessed the incredible Chapter of Courage. He was famous for solo charging through enemy ranks in a guild war, slaughtering them all while remaining completely unstoppable. Nie Yan dives into the depths of the cave, his heart racing at the thought of the chapter of courage buried just below. He reaches a ledge and spots 3 rock spider chieftains blocking the path forward, hearing the faint sound of running water. Nie Yan activates stealth, preparing to carefully slip past the 3 massive bosses and claim his legendary prize. Nie Yan plunges into the water with a heavy splash, the water-repelling pearl activating to create a clear air pocket around him. He swims through the dark underwater cavern, recalling a hidden chest from his past life that once caused a massive stir on the player forums. Near the silty floor, he spots a faint, golden glimmer through the rising bubbles, the object he has been searching for. It is an antique gold chest bearing the pirate emblem of the Zin Seas, a relic far rarer and more valuable than a standard treasure box. The system begins the unlocking sequence, and Nie Yan watches with anticipation until the lid finally clicks open. Inside lies a dark, lethal-looking weapon, the assassin's precept, an unidentified dagger that radiates a sinister red aura. Gripping the hilt, Nie Yan examines the intricate design and the powerful energy emanating from the blade, certain it is at least gold grade. He considers the run an absolute success already. Obtaining a weapon of this caliber is a massive win regardless of what comes next. Leaving the chest behind, he swims toward a shaft of light piercing the darkness from far above his head. He breaks the surface of a crystal-clear pool, water cascading down his face as he looks out over a hidden subterranean oasis. His boots splash onto the mossy bank, leaving wet prints as he steps into the secret zone tucked away deep within the rock spider cave. Sunlight filters through a hole in the cavern ceiling, illuminating a lush forest that seems completely out of place in the dark tunnels. In the center of a small clearing, he discovers a stone altar with a thick, ancient book resting upon it. The moment his hand touches the leather cover, a surge of mysterious, chronological power flows into his body from the tome. He opens the book to find pages filled with mysterious text etched in tin silver that seems to vibrate with ancient energy. The dust-covered history of the age of Korul is written in 3 dead languages, all of which are instantly imprinted into his mind. System notifications pop up in his vision, confirming that he has successfully mastered the Chashat Giant and Draconic languages. He also learns Ancient Common and gains the Korul Chronological Index, a feat that grants him immense knowledge of the game's hidden lore. The artifact is revealed as the Chapter of Courage, a legendary item fragment that grants permanent stat and skill point bonuses every 5 levels. Along with the passive buffs, he gains 2 powerful skills: Super Insight for identifying gear and the game-breaking Divine Arbitration. Staring at the broken stats, Nie Yan finally understands how the legendary player Half-Awake Fox was once able to solo a 200-man army. He clenches his fist, knowing he must be incredibly careful now. If he dies, this legendary item is a guaranteed drop for his killer. The artifact will only become permanently bound to his soul once he collects all 6 chapters to complete Volume I of the Book of Order. A chilling thought occurs to him: an item this powerful should be guarded by a massive boss. He looks back at the cave entrance with a wary expression. Nie Yan looks back at the empty cavern, wondering why everything is so quiet. He just snatched the Chapter of Courage and expects a fight, but there's no sign of a boss yet. The silence doesn't last long. The ground beneath him suddenly erupts into jagged stone spikes. The thief barely jumps back as the environment turns hostile in an instant. He realizes his mistake immediately. Looting that legendary item just triggered the boss's aggro. To make matters worse, his only exit through the pool is now completely blocked off. He kicks off the wall, leaping through the rocky terrain to put some distance between himself and the traps. He can't stay here, or he'll be pinned down and finished before the fight even starts. The young man looks down at the new gear on his finger, the silk spinner's ring. It's exactly the kind of mobility tool he needs for a situation this desperate. A thin strand of silk shoots from the ring, latching onto the edge of a distant cliff. It holds firm against the rock face, providing a makeshift bridge across the gap. He swings through the air like a pro, clearing the distance and landing a hard roll on a high ledge. Every second counts as the ground behind him continues to crumble. Another wave of spikes bursts from the floor, shattering the spot where he was standing just a heartbeat ago. The sheer force of the attack sends debris flying everywhere. From the shadows, the true threat finally emerges, The Order Guardian, a towering spirit wreathed in flames and sporting massive black wings. It lets out a roar that shakes the entire cave. Nie Yan doesn't hesitate to use super insight, desperate to see exactly what kind of monster he's dealing with. A sleek black icon flies toward the beast to gather intel. The stats that pop up are a total nightmare, a level 100 boss with 200,000 HP. At his current level, this thing isn't just an opponent, it's a force of nature. The Guardian takes to the sky, raining down massive fireballs that look like miniature suns. The entire area is about to become a literal oven. Explosions rock the cavern as Nie Yan sprints through the heat, knowing a single hit would end his run instantly. He's got to reach the safety of the town before the boss's area of effect attacks catch up. Back in Link Town, the local players start to freak out as the sky turns dark and the ground begins to tremble. Something big is coming and they aren't prepared for it. A massive system announcement flashes across the sky, warning everyone that draconic creatures have invaded the southern sector. The game is basically telling non-combatants to run for their lives. People stop in their tracks, staring at the massive winged shadow looming over the city walls. The panic is starting to set in as the threat level hits an all-time high. The heavy, rhythmic sound of metal boots hitting the pavement cuts through the noise of the crowd. A disciplined force is moving toward the gate with singular purpose. The Holy Crusaders march out in perfect formation, their silver plate armor gleaming under the dark sky. These elite NPC knights aren't about to let a monster trash their town. The players look on in awe as they realize the high-level NPCs are actually mobilizing for a full-scale defense. It's not every day you see the town guard pull out all the stops like this. Nie Yan clears the tree line with the Guardian breathing down his neck, realizing he's brought the boss right to the city's doorstep. He's got the aggro, and he's bringing the heat with him. He cracks open a scroll of swiftness, a blue trail of energy following him as his movement speed jumps by 20%. It's a desperate boost to stay ahead of the flames. A massive pillar of fire erupts right behind him, scorching the earth and sending him flying forward from the shockwave. The thief is barely staying one step ahead of total annihilation. Burn damage numbers start ticking over his head as the intense heat begins to sap his health. He grits his teeth, knowing he just needs to hold on for a few more seconds to reach the gate. He fires the silk spinner's ring again, the line catching a thick tree trunk to help him pivot around a sharp corner. His reflexes are the only thing keeping him alive at this point. The young man is a blur of motion, flying through the forest canopy as he uses every mobility trick in his arsenal. The town walls are finally in sight, but the boss is closing the gap fast. The Guardian opens its massive maw, a swirling ball of concentrated fire glowing between its teeth. It's charging up for a breath attack that will likely wipe everything in its path. Before the beast can fire, a glowing arrow slams into its face with pinpoint precision. Nie Yan breathes a sigh of relief as the city's heavy hitters finally step into the fray. The monster recoils from the strike, letting out a deafening roar of frustration as its attack is interrupted. The tide of the chase is finally starting to turn. Warlord Nisad stands tall on the wall, already drawing back another massive arrow on his ornate bow. The commander looks completely unfazed by the level 100 threat looming over them. Below him, the Holy Crusaders stand in a solid wall of steel, shields raised and ready to hold the line. They're just waiting for their leader's word to unleash judgment on the draconic beast. A bright orange streak tears through the darkening sky, heading straight for the city center. The sheer scale of the projectile suggests this isn't some minor random event. The source of the chaos descends, a massive winged demon wreathed in flames. This is the Order Guardian's spawn, and it's clearly come to turn the Viridian Empire into a graveyard. A system notification pops up, labeling the attack as a blazing meteor. Fireballs begin to rain down in a geometric pattern, blanketing the sky in lethal light. Panic grips the streets as a town level 1 alert is declared. Players are scrambling for cover, fully aware that a single direct hit from these draconic meteors will send them straight to the graveyard. On the city walls, the Holy Crusaders aren't backing down. A high-ranking NPC commander draws his bow, shouting for the activation of the city's primary defensive barrier. A massive purple dome of energy erupts from the city's foundations, encasing the entire urban area. The barrier hums with power, standing as the only thing between the players and total annihilation. The meteors slam into the energy shield with violent force, exploding into harmless sparks. From the streets below, players watch in awe, realizing the NPC guards are their only hope for survival. The counterattack begins. Dozens of crusaders on the ramparts draw their bows in perfect unison. At the commander's shout, they prepare to unleash a volley of holy magic to push the beast back. A hail of glowing blue energy spears is launched from the walls, saturating the air. They don't just fly straight, they track their target like heat-seeking missiles. The spears home in on the draconic beast, weaving through the air with mechanical precision. The creature tries to bank away, but the sheer volume of incoming fire is impossible to dodge. The crusaders coordinate for a heavy strike, channeling a concentrated holy beam. The blinding light catches the beast right in the chest, pushing it back through the sky. Reeling from the impact, the monster lets out a guttural roar that shakes the surrounding buildings. Its flames flicker as the holy energy begins to whittle down its massive health pool. The Order Guardian's spawn slams directly into the energy shield, cracking the barrier and sending shockwaves rippling through the purple dome. The city is holding for now, but the battle is far from over. While the guards do the heavy lifting, Nie Yan watches from the crowd. He knows exactly what's coming. The vultures are already circling, waiting for the boss to drop so they can ninja the loot. Among the players, Nie Yan spots Star Brilliance, the master of the Radiant Temple Guild. In his past life, Star Brilliance was known as a loyal expert, and it seems he hasn't changed a bit in this timeline. Right on time, the competition arrives. Ready Blade, the arrogant leader of the Dark Massacre Guild, moves in with his thugs. He's the type of scum who lives for bullying smaller players and stealing kills. The tension spikes as half-awake Fox, the future legend of the Holy Roman Empire, makes his entrance. Nie Yan remembers him as the original owner of the Chapter of Courage, before Nie Yan borrowed it in this timeline. Star Brilliance doesn't flinch, staring down Ready Blade with calm confidence. He expects the thugs to back off now that the big guilds are here to maintain order during the raid. Star Brilliance isn't above a little trash talk, reminding Ready Blade that his guild cleared the Black Flame forest first. He's making sure everyone knows who the current server experts are. Ready Blade just scoffs, dismissing the achievement as pure luck. He claims the point gap between their guilds is tiny and that Dark Massacre will be on top by the end of the day. The thugs behind Ready Blade are itching to start a guild war right there in the streets. They're begging their boss for the order to wipe out the Radiant Temple members before the loot even drops. The ground trembles as the beast lets out another roar in the distance. The wind from its wings nearly knocks the arguing players off their feet, reminding them that the real fight is still happening. The meteor shower intensifies, crashing against the city's defenses in a series of blinding white explosions. The Holy Crusaders are being pushed to their limit to keep the barrier active. The draconic beast charges up one last desperate attack, but the city's energy is already flaring blue. The NPCs are preparing a final judgment to end the invasion once and for all. An NPC commander passes sentence in the name of Warlord Nisad. He draws a massive energy arrow, focusing all the city's defensive power into a single point of lethal light. The arrow is released, tearing through the sky like a blue lightning bolt. It leaves a trail of ozone in its wake, aimed directly at the heart of the fiery monster looming above. The projectile connects with a thunderous crack, dealing a staggering 87,000 damage. The beast's wings give out, and it begins its final descent toward the city streets. A system notification confirms the kill as the boss's HP bar hits 0. Every player in the area stops arguing and turns toward the crash site, their eyes locked on the potential loot. The guild leaders, Star Brilliance, Ready Blade, and half-awake Fox, exchange a split-second look of pure greed. The truce is officially over and the race to the drop site is on. It's a complete free-for-all as players sprint toward the falling corpse. Dignity is out the window. Everyone is just hopping to be the first one to click on a piece of high-tier gear. Nie Yan isn't going to just watch from the sidelines. He activates stealth, vanishing into thin air as he maneuvers through the chaotic crowd toward the prime loot spot. A random red-haired player thinks he's hit the jackpot, reaching out for a piece of gold-tier loot with a triumphant shout. He's already celebrating a win he hasn't earned yet. Suddenly, he's blasted back by a wave of force before his hand can even close on the item. The area around the loot is a literal death zone of competing skills and desperate players. Half-awake Fox isn't letting anyone else get close. He barks out an order to stop the scavengers, his eyes fixed on the most valuable drop in the entire pile. Using a burst of speed, Half-awake Fox leaps over the heads of the crowd. He's the fastest one there, and it looks like the Holy Roman Empire is going to take the prize. He reaches out, a smirk growing on his face as he prepares to claim the drop. In his mind, the item already belongs to him and his guild by right of strength. But a series of dark tendrils suddenly whip out from the shadows, ensnaring him in midair. An immobilized status effect locks him in place, freezing his momentum instantly. Ready Blade laughs as he steps out of the chaos, his own hand reaching for the loot while everyone else is stuck. He's been waiting for exactly this moment to swoop in and steal the glory. The scramble becomes a mess of hands and skills as Star Brilliance and Ready Blade dive for the same spot. Ready Blade has the better angle, and it looks like the bully is going to win. Watching from the shadows, Nie Yan realizes he's too far to grab the loot himself. If he can't have it, he's at least going to make sure the scum doesn't get it either. He levels his mechanical crossbow and fires a precise volley of arrows. They catch Ready Blade right in the shoulder, the impact and poison knocking him off balance and ruining his grab. With the opening created, Star Brilliance doesn't hesitate. He unleashes a final pulse of light magic, snatching the item out from under Ready Blade's nose and securing it for himself. Star Brilliance catches the loot, a smile spreading across his face as he glances back. He gives a quick nod of thanks for the timely assist that let him beat the thugs to the prize. Nie Yan watches from the shadows, satisfied with the outcome even if he didn't walk away with the gold himself. He's done what he came to do, and it's time to disappear before things get even messier. Ready Blade's face contorts with rage as he realizes he's been played. He snarls at the silver-haired thief, clearly not ready to let the insult go without a fight. The tension in the square is like a powder keg ready to blow. Dark Massacre members are already reaching for their weapons, surrounding the area as the crowd of onlookers starts to scatter. Nie Yan doesn't even flinch, meeting Ready Blade's murderous gaze with cold indifference. He knows exactly how to handle bullies like this, and he isn't about to start taking orders now. Star Brilliance steps forward, placing himself between Nie Yan and the thugs. He makes it crystal clear. Messing with the thief means declaring war on the entire Radiant Temple Guild. The Radiant Temple members stand their ground, their weapons drawn and ready. They aren't about to let the Dark Massacre scum intimidate them in the middle of a city square. Ready Blade sneers, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. He gives a mocking laugh, warning everyone present that none of them are going to make it out of the city alive. The stalemate is suddenly broken by a calm, confident laugh from the sidelines. Half-awake Fox stands there with a smirk, seemingly entertained by the drama unfolding in front of him. A member of the Holy Roman Empire leans in, whispering to his guild master. He identifies Nie Yan as the expert Nirvana Flame, the one who sold them the guide for the fallen shaman camp. Half-awake Fox studies Nie Yan with newfound interest, his eyes tracking the thief's every movement. Judging by the speed and precision he showed earlier, his mechanics are definitely top tier. The lackey asks for orders, wondering if they should intervene in the guild standoff. Half-awake Fox remains silent for a moment, his gears clearly turning as he weighs his options. Half-awake Fox steps forward, greeting Nie Yan with a surprisingly friendly grin. He ignores the surrounding thugs, his focus entirely on the thief who's been making waves. Ready Blade and Star Brilliance both look on in shock at the sudden turn of events. Seeing the leader of the Holy Roman Empire acting so cordially to a solo player is practically unheard of. Nie Yan notices Flying Stone standing right behind Half-awake Fox. It seems some of the future legends are already gathering under the banner of the Holy Roman Empire. Nie Yan doesn't miss a beat, laying out his terms before the invitation is even fully extended. He wants first dibs on any thief gear and usable items that drop during the raid. The onlookers are stunned by the sheer audacity of the demand. They can't believe a single player has the guts to make such a big ask from one of the server's most powerful guild masters. Whispers ripple through the crowd as players wonder if Half-awake Fox will actually entertain such an arrogant request. Some think the thief is just asking for a death sentence. Flying Stone grinds his teeth, clearly offended by the thief's lack of respect. He whispers to his boss that the guy is pushing his luck and being far too arrogant for his own good. Half-awake Fox actually smiles, seemingly impressed by the confidence. He knows that only someone with real, undeniable skill would dare to speak to him like that. With a single word, Half-awake Fox seals the deal, shocking everyone in the square. He agrees to give Nie Yan first pick of the thief loot if it means securing his help for the raid. The crowd is left speechless, unable to process why a top-tier guild leader would cave to such a demand. It's a complete shift in the power dynamic that no one expected to see today. The thugs from Dark Massacre realize they're in a tight spot. They can't afford to start a war with two of the server's biggest guilds at the same time, just over a single player. Half-awake Fox turns to Ready Blade, suggesting they just let the whole thing slide. He's effectively ending the conflict with a polite but firm request to just pretend today never happened. Ready Blade's face is a mask of suppressed rage, but he knows he has no choice. He forced to back down, his pride take a massive hit in front of the entire square. The Dark Massacre members finally withdraw, their tails between their legs as they head for the city gates. The immediate threat has passed, leaving only the primary guild members behind. Star Brilliance breathes a sigh of relief and thanks Nie Yan for the backup. He's surprised to find out that the thief actually has connections with the Holy Roman Empire. Star Brilliance pulls up the item window for the loot he snatched, but his expression isn't as happy as you'd expect. He admits that the haul is technically great, but completely useless for them right now. The Courage armor is a stunning gold-tier piece, but it has a level requirement of 100. It's an incredible find, but it's going to be gathering dust in a vault for a long, long time. Half-awake Fox looks at the stats and nods in agreement. Everyone's level is way too low right now, and even if they put it up for auction, nobody could afford it or use it. It's essentially just a very expensive trophy at this point. It'll sit in the guild vault as a symbol of their success, even if it won't be helping them in a fight anytime soon. Star Brilliance turns back to Nie Yan, expressing his hope that they can run a dungeon together soon. He's clearly seen enough to know that having this thief as an ally is worth its weight in gold. Half-awake Fox suggests they all add each other as friends to stay in touch for the upcoming raid. He's making moves to solidify this new connection before everyone goes their separate ways. System messages pop up as the three of them exchange friend requests. Nie Yan can't help but reflect on how casually he's running into these future legends in this life. With the immediate business sorted, Nie Yan prepares to log off. He gives a final wave to the two guild masters, promising to catch them later when the raid is ready to go. The sun is beginning to set over the city as the crowds finally start to thin. Nie Yan takes a moment to himself, finally having some quiet time to look over his newest piece of gear. He activates Super Insight to appraise the Assassin's Precept dagger he got earlier. The blade thrums with golden light as its hidden properties are finally revealed. It's a gold-grade offhand weapon with some seriously impressive stats for a level 5 item. Getting nearly 30 attack power from a single piece is going to be a game-changer. Nie Yan realizes that once he reaches level 5 and unlocks dual wield, his DPS is going to skyrocket. He's already planning his next steps to reach that milestone as quickly as possible. The scene shifts to Tell Town, a quiet settlement nestled against a backdrop of towering mountains. Nie Yan arrives at the gates, ready to finish up some unfinished business. He checks his timer and sees he still has about half an hour of game time left before the servers go down. It's just enough time to head over and finish Apothecary Blevin's quest. He teleports to the Fishman tribe area, where the air is thick with the smell of salt and old magic. He moves toward the target location, his eyes sharp for any potential threats in the shifting mists. Nie Yan looks over the smoking wreckage of the Fishman tribe village. The guild victorious return has already finished their raid, leaving nothing but ruin behind. He observes the aftermath from a distance, noting that the victorious return guys didn't waste any time. He decides to look for solo players in the area who might have the materials he needs. Rather than farming the items himself, Nie Yan finds a group of players and offers to buy their fine silk. It's a pragmatic choice to save time before the upcoming server shutdown. With the silk secured, he makes his way across the waters towards Central Lake Island. The tranquil environment of the island stands in stark contrast to the destruction he just witnessed. He finds Apothecary sitting by the shore with a fishing pole in hand. Nie Yan announces his return, ready to complete the task he was given. He hands over 90 pieces of fine silk to the old man, who accepts them with a surprised expression. A system notification confirms that the items have been removed from his inventory. Apothecary stands up, his eyes bright with newfound hope. He proclaims that he finally has enough materials to make his return to Hilton's stronghold. A golden light begins to emanate from the old man, bathing the entire shore in a warm glow. He speaks with conviction about purging the darkness from the land. As the light intensifies, a message appears indicating an increase in reputation with Hilton's stronghold. The apothecary continues his blessing, calling upon the holy light to guide the way. Nie Yan watches as a massive amount of experience points are added to his status bar. Apothecary then offers several items as a token of his heartfelt gratitude. A pair of black boots trimmed with gold materializes in front of him. The system identifies them as the Swift Rotation Boots, a gold-grade item. Nie Yan is stunned to have received yet another piece of gold-grade equipment. He examines the stats, noting the significant bonuses to defense and movement speed. A sudden ding echoes through his interface, followed by an urgent system warning. The servers are scheduled for maintenance and will shut down in exactly 1 minute. He quickly pulls up his character window, seeing his experience at 98%. He is agonizingly close to reaching level 5. A frown crosses his face as he realizes he's run out of time for the day. He'll have to wait until tomorrow to finally hit his next level milestone. Standing at the edge of the lake, Nie Yan's body begins to dissolve into blue data streams. The world of conviction fades out as he initiates the logout sequence. The login interface flickers with digital noise before going dark. The sensory input from the game world finally cuts off completely. Nie Yan wakes up in his bedroom, the reality of his small, sparsely furnished room coming back into focus. He sets aside the VR helmet, his mind still racing with plans for the game. Despite the mental exhaustion, he immediately begins a physical workout on the floor. He knows that his physical stats in the real world are just as important as his in-game ones. He powers through a set of sit-ups, his muscles burning with the effort. He reminds himself that in this second life, he cannot afford to slack off for even a single second. He transitions into handstand push-ups, his body perfectly vertical against the wall. He begins to feel the limitations of his current training space. After finishing his set, he grabs a heavy dumbbell to work on his arm strength. He decides that he needs to visit a martial arts dojo to properly test his current limits. Later that day, Nie Yan stands outside the Lin family martial arts building. The large sign above the entrance looms over the bustling city street. At the reception desk, he pays for a 2-hour training pass without a word. The girl behind the counter, Lin Jia, looks up and recognizes him immediately. Lin Jia, a former classmate, greets him with an arrogant sneer. She assumes he has come all the way to the dojo just to get her attention. She mockingly tells him to stop creeping on her, bringing up a stupid love letter from their past. Nie Yan simply stares at her with a look of complete indifference. As he walks away toward the equipment, Lin Jia continues to mock him under her breath. She tells her companions that his family is drowning in debt and that he's just a broke loser. She watches him go, her expression filled with disdain as she questions how someone in his situation can afford to work out. She remains convinced that he is only there to impress her. A tall, muscular man named Bao Wei walks up to the counter and asks about the visitor. Lin Jia turns to him with a sweet, dismissive smile. She tells Bao Wei that Nie Yan is just some guy from her class who is only good at studying. She labels him as total trash to further boost Bao Wei's ego. Nie Yan ignores the whispers and approaches a pull-force testing machine. He takes a steady breath, centering his focus on the handle in front of him. He pulls with a sudden, explosive force that causes the machine to beep loudly. His grip is firm, and his form is perfect as he exerts every ounce of his current strength. The digital readout on the machine's pillar flashes a result of 162 kilograms. It is a remarkable display of power for his lean frame. He looks at the number with a slight frown, finding it pathetically weak compared to his previous life. However, he acknowledges that it is a solid start for this body's development. Next, he moves to a load-bearing tester, a heavy-duty hydraulic machine. He positions himself under the weights, ready for the next test. He pushes upward with a grunt of exertion, the machine straining under the 155-kilogram load. The effort causes the entire frame to vibrate. Bao Wei and Lin Jia watch from across the room, their earlier mockery replaced by confusion. Bao Wei asks her what she is staring at, his eyes fixed on Nie Yan. Lin Jia tries to hide her shock, dismissively calling Nie Yan a scrawny twig once again. Her words carry less conviction than before as she witnesses his performance. Nie Yan suddenly lunges forward and delivers a powerful punch to a testing pad, the impact echoing like a gunshot. The force of the blow sends a shockwave through the machine. The sound of the strike causes other members of the gym to stop their workouts and look over. A hush falls over the training floor as they witness the raw power of the strike. Bao Wei's expression turns to one of pure disbelief as he sees the results of the punch. He had completely underestimated the scrawny student. Lin Jia stands behind the counter with her mouth slightly open, her face pale with shock. The broke loser she had been mocking just a moment ago has left her completely speechless. Nie Yan looks at the display of the testing machine, his chest heaving slightly. He has just finished a grueling physical test, and the numbers on the screen confirm his growing strength. He makes his way to the reception desk, slinging his black jacket over his shoulder with a confident stride. The purple-haired receptionist, Lin Jia, looks up from her computer as he approaches the counter. Lin Jia slides a VIP card and a thick envelope across the marble countertop, her eyes wide with lingering shock. She tells Nie Yan that his 2-hour pass is free and hands over a 26,000 credit bonus for breaking the dojo's record. Nie Yan picks up the card, a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips as he thanks her. He thinks to himself that a cash bonus for simply testing his limits is an unexpected but welcome development. Lin Jia leans over the counter, her expression shifting into a playful, flirtatious gaze. She tells him she's free tonight and offers to buy him a drink at a club called Night's Dream. Nie Yan's response is cold and immediate, his gaze hardening as he refuses the invitation. He clearly has no intention of being drawn into her social games or wasting his evening. He turns his back on her and begins to walk out of the dojo, ignoring her frustrated shout. Lin Jia's eyes narrow in anger as she watches him leave, her earlier flirtatiousness completely gone. She grits her teeth, muttering insults about him being a broke loser to anyone nearby. She tries to rationalize his behavior as mere cockiness, convincing herself that he isn't worth her time anyway. Nie Yan stops at a local shopping mall later that evening to stock up on supplies. With his new bonus, he buys enough nutrient fluids to last him the rest of the month, ensuring his body stays fueled for the grind ahead. The city is quiet under the light of a massive full moon as Nie Yan returns to his apartment. He is focused on the next stage of his plan, eager to get back into the virtual world. Sitting in his room, Nie Yan holds his sleek VR helmet, his face illuminated by the soft blue light of the interface. He prepares to dive back into Conviction, ready to push his character even further. He materializes back in the game world, standing in a sunlit meadow bordered by thick trees. Digital particles float in the air as his avatar fully synchronizes with the environment. He reviews his progress, knowing the Featherfall Jewel is already safe in his inventory. His next goal is clear: hit level 4 and then hunt down the Lion King Cador, a terrifying level 7 elite boss. He finds a spot infested with chilled water spiders and immediately goes to work. He moves like a blur, his dagger slicing through the spindly legs of the monsters as they attempt to swarm him. A flash of light signals his success as he slashes through the final spider. He has finally hit level 4, bringing him one step closer to equipping his coveted gold-grade dagger. He estimates that the experience from soloing Lion King Cador will be enough to bridge the gap to level 5. Every move he makes is a calculated step toward becoming the strongest thief in the game. Nie Yan pulls out a town portal scroll, its surface etched with glowing blue runes. He knows he needs to finish some essential preparations in the city before taking on a boss as powerful as the Lion King. He activates the scroll and is instantly teleported to the heart of Kalor City. He walks through the crowded plaza, his eyes fixed on the auction house in the distance. He arrives at the Kalor City auction house, a large wooden building bustling with activity from players and NPCs alike. He pushes through the double doors, heading straight for the main trading floor. He looks around the crowded interior, his mind racing with memories of his past life. He knows the Sauce Valley dungeon is about to open, and it will change the entire market for a specific item. He recalls that the werewolves in the new dungeon use a lethal poison, making black phenol potions a necessity. He anticipates that the price of these potions will skyrocket once the guilds start their first clears. At the main counter, Nie Yan places a massive order with the clerk. He asks for 9 quivers of poisoned arrows and every single black phenol potion and crafting recipe the house has in stock. The bearded clerk is nearly knocked back by the scale of the request, asking if Nie Yan is truly sure about buying everything. Nie Yan doesn't flinch, confirming his order with cold certainty. The clerk waves a cheerful goodbye as Nie Yan leaves the auction house with his massive haul. He walks away with a confident smirk, knowing he has successfully monopolized the market for the most vital item in the game's next phase. Nie Yan activates a teleport, his form shimmering with energy. He's heading to Mordo Town to kick off his next plan. He steps out into the streets of Mordo Town, the tall steeples of the city rising behind him. There's no time to sightsee, so he keeps moving. With a burst of speed, he leaves the city limits. The trail ahead leads straight to the Crimson Dream Hills. His boots kick up dust and grass as he sprints across the open plains. He's narrowing the distance to his target with every step. Reaching the edge of a massive cliff, Nie Yan looks down into the valley. The sun hangs low on the horizon, illuminating the rugged terrain below. His target, the Lion King Cador, prowls through the grass far beneath him. The level 7 elite beast has 6,000 health points, making it a formidable opponent for any normal group. Nie Yan spots a narrow ledge protruding from the cliff face. It's the perfect vantage point for the strategy he has in mind. He throws himself off the cliff, free-falling into the open air. As he drops, he triggers the Featherfall Jewel to cut his weight and slow his descent. He reaches out with the silk spinner's ring ready to go. Since he's currently light as a feather, the silk thread will easily support his weight without snapping. A thin line of silk catches a tree growing out of the rock, swinging him safely onto a hidden ledge. He's reached a glitched spot that the boss won't be able to path toward. Nie Yan readies his heavy mechanical crossbow and aims down at the beast. With 1,000 poisoned arrows at his disposal, he's prepared to whittle down the Lion King's health from a safe distance.